Welcome, everybody, to another rendition of DeleteLawZ. What's going on out there in the land of the unfree America? What is going on? How is everybody doing? Do me a favor, everybody, if you would please hit the like button. It's right down there. It looks like a thumbs up like this. Take 2 seconds and hit the like button. Just take two seconds and hit the like button. How's the sound? Can you guys hear me okay? Can I get a 5x5 if you guys can hear me all right? Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Today is going to be a history lesson on Dick Nixon and what a gigantic piece of poop the man actually was. If you guys check my community tab, you'll see that I put a couple things out about Dick Nixon today. He is an absolute piece of shit, and we are living under Richard Nixon's America. So now, what is the most important thing in the United States of America right now? What must we do for us to be free again? It is OTVO, overturn Terry versus Ohio. Put it in the comment section for me. Put it in the comment section if you would, please. Please, pretty please, put it in the comment section. Basil, you might be a little bit misguided, my friend, and I'm going to teach you today exactly why you are misguided. What is going on, Joe Pickrell? How you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. Bruno, got Angie Burks in the room. What is going on? Drophead 74. Drophead 74. I was born in 74. My 50th birthday is September 11th of 2024. So what is going on out there? I'm going to show you guys a bunch of stuff today. You're going to be dazzled. Well, some of you may have heard something like this before, but you likely have never. Oops, hang on. I'm on the wrong thing here. Let me just pop this up for you guys real quick. There, cool. All right, now I can see what's going on. All righty. So let me know if you guys got a notification or not today. I'm going to go over this in great detail today. Let me make sure my sound's not messed up. All right, let me see what you guys can hear. All righty then. Right on. Okay, cool. So we're going to go over some stuff in detail here today. I wonder if I should show a video before I get into the history lesson, because got a notification. Sound is, there's general specific. If you guys want to hear some of my thoughts, that I did last night, I believe it's at the 5-hour mark of general specifics video yesterday. You'll be able to watch some of those positions that I said last night to General Specific and his crowd. He's just about to get 1,000 subscribers. General Specific is just about to get to 1,000 subscribers. He's just 20 or 30 short. So if Team DLZ would go over there and drop a subscription for General Specific, he is a veteran. He is a former paratrooper. I guess it's like a Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Once a paratrooper, always a paratrooper. Salute, sir. I no longer believe that joining the military is what it used to be, because of how we are mercenaries and we travel all over the world being mercenaries to different people. So did everybody hit the like button? Did y'all hit the like button? Did y'all put in the comment section OTVO, overturn Terry versus Ohio? What does that say? Generally specific, and he was a sergeant. So let's go. OTVO is here. Cope Dogged Dog is in the hizzy. Okay, so I think what I want to do before we get into a history lesson about Richard Nixon, which is something I most definitely want to do today, I'm going to show a little bit of American Patriot, because American Patriot kind of shows exactly what I did with my time and my life almost 2 years ago exactly. And I want to make sure that everybody gets over to this channel, because this American Patriot, the editor over there, we're only at 15,000 subscribers, which is just perfectly fine. You know, I mean, slowly but surely I want to build this channel up, because this truly shows exactly what we did over there in Ironton, Ohio. So I'll let this play and I'll give some commentary. This video is only 15 minutes, And then we're going to get into this history lesson from Richard Nixon, so that people like Generally Specific, Generally Specific hasn't been in our live streams before. So I'm going to teach a history lesson today, and I have a hard out at 1:30 p.m. today. So that's in just over 2 hours. Hopefully we can get through everything today. Let me drop the link for American Patriot. If you guys have not seen this series, this is the last episode that we aired. If you guys have seen this already, great. I'm going to stop it a few times, and I'm going to break down some things that I was personally dealing with and going through during this time period. This was it was so difficult, because let me just say something. At this time, I was flat broke. I didn't have a dime. And all these people thought I was some rich guy from California who had this billionaire backer, who at the time wasn't giving me a single solitary dime. Jeff Lloyd was not financing me at all. And so it was really, really a hard time. James Formas subscribed to your channel. I believe James Formas is also a veteran. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And so here is the link to American Patriot. If you have not seen every single one of these episodes, I highly recommend that you take a look at every single one of these. So I'm going to come right back to that. This is episode 35 of American Patriot. I'll get my ugly mug off the screen, and I will just give some commentary on this as we watch it. Remember, this is episode 35. It starts at episode 1. I want to point something out here, that what I'm doing right now is I'm showing on the bigger scale, because I have a different place in Texas I'm doing this, and there's going to be a different place in Arkansas that I'll do the same thing, and there'll be another place in another state. And what I'm going to show through the course of my own travels and my own journeys is that there's corruption, and it just goes all the way up. For the DAs, to the mayors, to the judges, it just goes all the way to the top. Get over there to this channel and subscribe to American Patriot. It is such a good series. So I'm pulled over and I'm parked here. You want to scoot over here, Angela, next to me just a little bit? You can use that armrest right there if you want, or we can scoot over here. So this woman's name is Angela Ratcliffe. Angela would later turn on me and say horrible things about me. And she's going to tell us her story about the Ironton Police Department and what happened with her. So go ahead, Angela, you got the floor.
First, I want to say thank you to my husband, because I don't think I could have done this without him. The story involved my ex-husband.
Got it.
Dana. But I'm not going to elaborate into any of that unless he was here to give the whole entire story of what happened. They show up at my house, and I was sitting in my chair on the outside smoking with a short nightgown on.
Why did the police come to the house?
Well, my ex-husband had gotten drunk, and he had called the police on me because we had gotten into it. There's a lot of detail to that I don't want to go into unless he's here.
But the cops show up to a domestic. Yes. And by the way, I'm glad we're talking about this. This is a perfect example. So what happens when they show up to the domestic? Are you guys still in an active physical fight?
No. He had walked off because I wasn't allowing him to take my vehicle because he was drunk. He had been drinking whiskey.
You said you've been drinking whiskey. You ain't taking my car.
That's how that happened.
Right. Makes sense.
He walks off and he calls the police.
But you guys are not in active warfare at this time.
No.
So everything's calmed down.
Yeah.
You know, even if there's blood drawn, you guys aren't fighting anymore. You're probably having a lot of regret and drunkenness. And okay. So then what happens?
Okay. So I had 4 police officers rush me.
I don't understand.
The corner.
So the cops show up and who answers the door when the cops come?
I was sitting outside.
And which cops are there?
I don't even know who they were because it happened.
You guys got to get their name.
I was so traumatized.
I don't understand.
And this is all stuff I'm learning now.
I know that.
I've never been in trouble prior to that.
You've never been in trouble? You're not a drug addict?
No.
You don't do meth?
No.
You're not strung out on drugs?
Nope.
You're not a felon?
Nope.
You sure you're not a criminal and you just don't hate cops? You hate authority.
My nephew's a cop.
Just admit it, though. Admit it. You're here lying about the police because you hate authority. That's what it is.
Oh, this goes way deeper where we live. There's an act to where, let's get her in trouble and then we'll use that against her. She's a bad person. Or he's a bad person. And then we don't speak up because we're afraid of that. And that is so wrong. That is so wrong. That is not the way it is around the world, people, just in this small town. We're prisoners. Anyway, so I'm
That's exactly correct.
Sitting there, I'm calmed. I had called my girlfriend because I was like, I was calm.
Right.
I was sitting in the corner. I had four police officers.
Ironton police officers?
They were just around. I don't even know who all it was. It was police officers in one state.
But you live in Ironton.
Chesapeake. I lived in Chesapeake at the time.
Okay.
So then they took me. Okay, so then they put me up again on a step. He picked me up. He put me on a step.
Who picked you up?
The police officer.
You don't know their names. You got to know their names.
He cuffed me. He put me in cuffs.
So how were
the door.
How were the cuffs?
I mean, I couldn't breathe. It was so tight.
Yeah. Torture cuffs are always torture. Put that in the chat for me, pretty please, with sugar and cherries on top. Torture cuffs are always torture. You mean so cuffs are absolute torture?
In my nightgown.
Cuffs are torture, though. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's torture from the moment they're put on.
100%. I start crying. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm up against a glass door on a step. All right, I have to say that because there's no balance. Mm-hmm. My hands behind my back. He tases. I start crying and I said, "You all don't understand. This is my house," because they told me it wasn't my home. Mm-hmm. I said, "Yes, it is my home." So then the guy tased me while I was in cuffs.
Wait, I
was in handcuffs.
Wait, you got tased while you were in
handcuffs?
What? You're in handcuffs being tortured. Please make sure that you call them torture cuffs because they're always torture. They have you against the wall, and then as he has you against the wall, he's tasing you in the back?
I turned my head to the one guy, my hands behind my back, and I said, "You don't understand. This is my home." And he hit me with the taser. Then I fell off the step, hit my head on the door, all in handcuffs. Okay. So then.
Hit your head?
Yeah, I hit my head.
So you fell when he tased you?
I sure did.
You fell down on the ground?
I fell into the door and then onto the ground.
Because you have no balance when your arms are on your head.
I'm on a step in handcuffs.
But the handcuffs are for your safety. They're for your safety. You feel safer?
And let me mention, I have a German Shepherd that everybody has loved. She has since passed away. He pulled his gun out on her to shoot her.
To shoot your dog?
Mm-hmm. So then they dragged me from there out in the rain to the state highway patrol car, or I don't even know what car they put me in. Actually, to be honest, it was a sheriff's car because the state highway patrol guy left. Okay. He watched it. And you could tell he was not happy with what they were doing. So,
but he just went along with it. I got that.
He just left.
Yeah, he's one of the good guys.
So then, so they take me. So my husband at the time, he asked if he could get me some pants, and because now I have just panties and a short nightgown. That's all I have.
Wow. Seems like there's no respect for women's dignity, just like there's no respect for men's dignity.
It gets worse. So my husband tried to get me pants and shoes, and they wouldn't. They let him get pants and shoes, but they wouldn't let me.
Some common decency, you mean? You mean treating someone like a human being, but they couldn't take the cuffs off you because it's their policy.
They couldn't even let me get pants and shoes, and it was raining.
It's raining outside, and you're in a teddy, in a little nightgown.
I'm just in a t-shirt nightgown.
You're in a t-shirt nightgown. Okay.
So they take me to Ironton, and they arrested him too. They arrested him also.
Wait a minute. So, like what I say earlier, why arrest one person when you can arrest two? Because he's the one that called because she hit him apparently. And so just from the outside looking in, I'm just giving an overview here. So he's bleeding though, not her, just so you know. So the husband isn't beating up the wife. She's not bleeding out the face. He is. And so when the cops come, they arrest her. And bonus, like the other 5 stories I've heard, they arrest both couples.
Yeah.
If they said to you, "We're going to take the cuffs off, go back there, get your jeans and t-shirt on, put on some warm socks because the jail's cold."
They let him go get his pants and shoes.
I'm asking you though, if they had said to you, "You can go get your stuff. If you act nutty, you're on camera. The judge is going to see it. Go get your jeans and stuff. Obviously, we're going to charge you with assault. So you want to come with us?" What would you have said?
I would have just easily got my things and went with them.
Which is what I've been proposing for the longest time. Digital detainment for the good citizens of this country. Good citizens don't need to be torture cuffed. We'll go with you if we have to go with you. But as you guys know, when I'm governor, I will change it where you get fingerprinted right there on the spot. If you must be fingerprinted, you'll be photographed right there on the spot. As you're being charged, there's no need to go to the dungeon. The dungeon is created to give money to people to guard your skin. It's preposterous. It doesn't make you better. It makes us worse. Change is coming, my friends. Change is coming.
The other option is we put you in torture cuffs, tase you, and drag your ass on camera. If they had said to you, you can go get your stuff. If you act nutty, you're on camera. The judge is going to see it. Go get your jeans and stuff. Obviously, we're going to charge you with assault, so you want to come with us. What would you have said?
I would have just easily got my things and went with them.
Or the other option is we put you in torture cuffs, tase you, and drag your ass to the dungeon. Right? Are you sure you wouldn't run off? Are you sure you're not a crazed lunatic? You're not going to go in the back and get a gun and shoot the cop? You sure?
I don't have a gun.
Oh, but you're sure you don't want to kill police?
Yeah, I'm positive.
You sure? Okay, you're not a cop killer. I'm not a cop killer. Are you for law and order? Are you for rule of law?
Yeah.
You're for rule of law?
Yeah.
Me too.
You know, I take it so seriously that people don't get their products that they order for me. Joseph, if you need me to give it to you for free, I will. But your order failed, and I don't ship the orders. My assistant does. So if the order failed, he didn't ship it. If you need my products for free, I'll give them to you for free. But originally you tried to pay for them. Maybe the credit card failed or whatever. But Joseph, if you need it, I'll send it to you anyway. Okay. Just to let you know, I don't want you getting upset in the chat. Okay. Thanks, Joseph.
Me too. So a simple camera, and you have to come with me, miss, and you'd be willing to go?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have to be done that way.
Right.
So then when they walked me and him in, all right, my nightgown was up above my behind. Okay?
Right.
So my butt was completely exposed to the entire police office.
Right.
Or the jail.
Right.
The jail.
Right. Of course.
So
all the sheriffs?
Everybody that was in there saw my
and your
butt,
ass is showing.
Yes. So I've got cuffs behind my back. I cannot pull my nightgown down. And they walk me in, they walk him in, and I'm crying. And so I asked him to please pull my nightgown down.
Right.
And he told me to shut the fuck up and sit down. And my ass was out the whole time.
Who's the sheriff at this time?
I believe it was Lawless.
Jeff Lawless was the sheriff as your butt was hanging out.
And the way that he wanted to solve it was for me to come and talk to him. After the court situation, because my attorney had just sued them for doing something like that to another woman or another person. And he tried to get me to
come talk to him?
Well, to file a suit because what had happened.
Who did?
My attorney did.
Right.
But he also prefaced it with, they're going to follow you and harass you everywhere.
He prefaced it with that, just like the other person prefaced the other girl who'd been raped by a bunch of people. And they said, don't do anything because you're going to be harassed. So now
I ended up getting arrested on charges of resisting arrest.
But you were just sitting there.
I was just sitting there, and whatever transpired between my ex at the time, that was all dismissed. Nobody, but I ended up getting a resisting arrest charge because they had to cover their asses because of what they done to me.
And then when did they take the torture cuffs off?
Not until they take me into the back to strip search me.
Oh, you get strip searched. For domestic violence. You're now packing drugs up your backside.
Okay, so let me tell you how many times I heard in Ironton, Ohio, how they would arrest you for domestic or shoplifting or whatever it may be. And then they would take you in, strip you down naked, make you turn around, squat, and cough, take your hands, lift up your breasts, lift up your sack, and then they would say, take your fingers now, stick them in your mouth, and show the insides of your mouth. One person said, I refuse to do it. I'm not lifting up my scrotum and then sticking my fingers in my mouth. So, and let me explain something to everybody here. I help people who have a video of what happened to them and their rights are clearly violated. Otherwise, I don't get on the phone with every person. I'm already on the phone half the day. If you're trying to get a hold of me, send me the video. Send it through WeTransfer on an unlisted link on YouTube. Thank you.
Oh, I'm naked in cuffs and I get strip searched. Did the typical bend over and all that.
No.
I was crying.
But hold on a minute. The people who've never been to the dungeon, did they take the torture cuffs off?
Not until they take me into the back to strip search me.
Oh,
wow.
You get strip searched. For domestic violence, you're now packing drugs up your backside.
Oh, I'm naked in cuffs and I get strip searched. Did the typical bend over and all that.
No.
I was crying.
But hold on a minute. the people who've never been to the dungeon, they don't understand the humiliation. Just this little process here. So I want to clearly articulate how inhumane it is. So you got the torture cuffs on. The lady says, come back here. We're going to have to really examine you because you got to fight with your husband now. We got to demoralize you. So now they're going to tell you to take off your panties.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
they
God.
Take off your shirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my
now
God.
you're completely naked. And the woman in front of you, she's your mother, your aunt. She's your sister.
I don't even know who she is.
Okay, you don't even know her at all. And so then what did she tell you to do?
Bend over.
Yes. She needs to look up your butt to see if you're packing drugs up your butt as you were sitting on your porch just 30 minutes earlier. Okay. Makes a lot of sense.
Sat in there calm.
I
was actually relieved when they had walked around.
This all makes perfect sense to do to people. This is a perfect process. We should keep doing this to every person who ever gets arrested. I love this system. So now, after you get strip searched, what's the next thing that happens?
They put me into this little room, just a concrete room.
Do they get a jumpsuit? You still wearing pants?
I got you, Joseph. The first time I got the wrong order number. I got you, Joseph. Shipping.
I got a jumpsuit.
So now you get an orange or blue or pink or whatever it is jumpsuit?
Yes.
Okay. Did they give you underpants?
No.
So are you underpantless or are you still same panties?
I just have on a jumpsuit at this time.
There's nothing underneath, just a pure jumpsuit.
Yes.
Does that you feel fresh like that?
Oh my gosh.
You feel brand new? You feel like a real human being, like a free American when you're in a jumpsuit with no panties on? Does that feel good to you? I'm trying to show you guys how inhumane this disgusting system is that was created for slaves.
It's not right.
So now as we continue down, now what happens next? They put you in this room. Is it cold in that room?
Oh yeah.
Freezing cold. Are you by yourself? So you're in a room. Wow, that's amazing. You're not stacked on top of bodies.
Not in this particular.
Joseph, check your email. Check your email, Joseph.
They had a lady that was in there that was on suicide watch. So she got all this foam to lay on, and I had to lay on the concrete.
It feels like a dungeon. The walls.
Yes, she did.
Are decrepit. It's dirty. It's nasty.
Oh, it's dirty.
It's dirty, and you're on just hard concrete.
Yeah.
Even the benches are concrete. They just come out of the ground. There's concrete. So there's nothing to really grab. It's just all concrete. And then do you get a pillow? No pillow.
No, I didn't get anything because the other girl was on suicide watch.
Oh, so that means pretty much anybody who's in the jail, if they get a pillow, if they get treated with any kind of decency, they're going to use the pillow to hang themselves or hang you. There's a propensity for violence when you treat people like animals. Maybe stop treating people like animals, treat them like human beings, and you won't have that propensity for violence inside of the dungeon.
I got out in the middle of the night, late that night, and I had to leave in my nightgown with this guy.
What? So you get bonded out and then you leave in your panties and your...
Yes, in his vehicle. They get money to pay him.
They
people.
The jail can't afford to give you just a pair of pants and a t-shirt.
No, they sent me out in a nightgown with this guy and drove down the road, and he had to stop me at an ATM to get money for him, and I'm in a nightgown.
But you have to be bonded out though because you're a hardened criminal. You've kidnapped your neighbor's children before? Have you done that? No, you sure? Okay. Just want to make sure that we're not talking to, the actual evil carnation of Satan here. Because Satan deserves to be treated that way. If you want to torture someone, it's Satan. That deserves that. But not a human being.
Okay, this girl tried to call you. They're going to try to set you up today. She said she tried to call you, but she didn't get any answer. Will you call and please tell you?
They were trying to set me up. The cops with the so-called informants were trying to set me up to have me arrested to plant chemicals in my car.
Don't let any... Okay, this girl tried to call you. They're going to try to set you up today. She said she tried to call you, but she didn't get any answer. Will you call and please tell you? Don't let anyone else in your car, because someone's supposed to be in your car and drop some kind of dope or sitting on either your car so the police can pull you over.
And that's what you're hearing?
Yeah, that's what I was told today.
Mm-hmm. So one of the blanket ship cops are going to try to set me up by dropping something in my car, is that what you're telling me?
Yes. I don't know, who's supposed to be doing it, but I was told.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
To this day, I have informants who call me regularly from Ironton, Ohio. I should make a open statement to the police of the tri-state areas here. I don't do drugs. I don't transport drugs. I don't have anything on me. I'm not a known drug offender. It's not how it works. Right, because they were trying to set me up and I wasn't going to have it.
In the year 2002, I was no-knock raided by the Chief of Police, Michael Moore, of LAPD with an entire SWAT team twice in the same month. Since that date, I began studying the history of America and constitutional law. I am an autodidactic constitutional law scholar. Over the past couple years, what I've done is I've been able to devise a system, understanding that the police have created a very rigid set of policies, procedures, and protocols that they use to arrest you. I've also created a very rigid set of policies, procedures, and protocols for you to follow that gives you back the power when you're forced to interact with these jackboot thug pigs. It has become a tyrannical jackboot thug police state, prison state, death state. I will win the governorship and I will change the policies from the top down.
Hi, I'm Corporal Wayne with the Ozaukee County Sheriff's Office. The reason I pulled you over is you don't have any taillights on.
So cops got me pulled over. First thing I'm going to do when I start recording is I'm going to put this hand right here. You see that? You see how that works? This hand is now up in the air. My camera is going to bright up the sky. So if it's nighttime, then the coppers can see that the camera is in my hand. You can see that my hand is here. The other hand goes up into the window. I'm in touchdown position right here. My hands look like they're a goalpost. This hand is actually, I took my little miniature armrest right here. I put it up right here. Bam. This is how I use my trifold. If anything happens to me, I'm all set right here. Okay, now that I got this like this, my camera's rolling. Most important thing. Second thing, my elbow goes in the windowsill right there. Do you see that? My elbow goes in the windowsill right there. There it is, right there. Now, with this hand up in the air and this hand up in the windowsill right here, I'm all set. I'm all set. The most I'm going to do is take the same hand right here, reach down and slightly roll my window down just a scooch. I'm all set up. I'm in touchdown position. This hand is rolling camera. This hand is up here so that I can reach up and grab my trifold and my proof of identification and my license. Everything is up in my visor. When that copper comes up to my window and he says, "Do you know why I pulled you over? Do you know how fast you were going? How come you didn't pull over right away?" If he says, "Hey, can I get your license, registration, and proof of insurance?" Great, because this hand is not going to have a camera in it. The one that I got my hand in now, my camera's in this hand over here. I'm in touchdown position, just like a goalpost. Now, from right here, I'm going to reach over and I'm going to, with the same hand that this phone's in, I'm going to reach over and grab my license, registration, and proof of insurance that is in my trifold right here. It's inside my trifold. Here's my license, registration, and proof of insurance right there. I got everything right there. See how that works? I'm just going to slide that bad chicken out. There's everything I have to provide by law right there. License, registration, proof of insurance. I have everything right next to my trifold. Now, no matter what he says from there, I don't care what he says. How fast were you going? Are you going to your grandma's house? Are you the big bad wolf? No matter what he says, I'm not going to answer any of his questions. I take my license, registration, proof of insurance. I always have a copy of my driver's license, of my insurance, and my proof of registration. Right, always at all times. That will be in my left.
He accepted the photocopy that I had. That's the same one in my hand right there. Take a look. Showed him the exact same one. He asked me to take the tape off my driver's license number, and I did. And he ran it just fine, just like it was my regular driver's license. It was a photocopy that I had laminated. And then I photocopied, then put in lamination.
Insurance and my proof of registration. Right, always so at all times. That will be in my left hand, and I give it to him. There you go. I don't want to deal with, he didn't identify himself. He didn't have his registration. He didn't have his current ID. He didn't have his current insurance card. No. I have everything ready to go. It's right here. With the same hand right here, I'm going to take it like this, and I'm just going to slip my information right out the cracked window for that jackboot thug pig. Put it in the comment section. JBTP, jackboot thug pig. Put it in the comment section. I don't have a back and forth with the pig. I don't do that. I do not have a back and forth with that pig. Where are you going? Where are you heading? All that? No. I'm not going to answer any questions. I'm not even going to entertain it. Not going to nod. Nothing. I'm going to give him my license, registration, proof of insurance. I'm just going to slip it right there. That's how it's going to work. Here's my license, my registration, and my proof of insurance. Here's the insurance.
Here's the rental car agreement. And my driver's license is right here.
If you're poor and white or black or brown,
Don't
reach around because you could die. It's a real thing. It's a real.
If you're poor and white or black or brown, don't reach around. That's why everything goes up in your visor. That's why I give you a rubber band with your trifold.
Reality here. So now I'm not going to get myself killed because I didn't follow a very rigid set of policies, procedures, and protocols. I'm recording everything with my phone from over here. Everything's being recorded. You see that? The phone is facing me, so my head is the most important thing. Now, once I've given him my license, registration, proof of insurance, I'm filming everything. He asked me where I'm going. I say I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent.
Okay. If you ask me another question, you're violating my rights, and I'll file a lawsuit against you. Write your ticket, do what you're going to do, but don't harass me any further.
Your Honor, I'm showing him on camera that I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Piggy loses qualified immunity for questioning me. Say it with me.
Piggy loses qualified immunity for questioning me.
This is how it goes. This is the way it is. Now, if he says, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Do you have a firearm in the car? I'm then going to take my trifold and point at it, and I'm going to go down the list of questions. Don't ask me where I'm going. Don't ask me where I've been. Don't ask me what my favorite color is. Don't ask me if I have a firearm. Don't ask me if I've been drinking. It says everything right there on your freaking trifold.
Put a 1 in the chat if you have a trifold. Put a 1 in the chat if you have a pair of Fifth Amendment cop cards. Put a 1 and a 2 in the chat if I gave you the cop cards or the trifold for free.
You don't have to answer any questions. He says, where are you coming from? And I say, Your Honor, I have shown the pig at the window that I clearly have identified that I've invoked my Fifth Amendment, and he already asked me where I'm going. He's violated my Fifth Amendment right. I'm showing him on video. It's on the literature. Your Honor, this is for my federal civil rights lawsuit. If I was you, pig,
there's everything you need. Go on. Go do your job.
I would just go write your ticket. That's what I would do if I was you, pig.
Do you see, when you invoke your rights, when you start off by using the step-by-step tutorial that I'm using here, once I invoke my First Amendment right, once I invoke my Fifth Amendment right, now I'm in charge. You can't question me any further, piggy. Go do your job or I'll sue your ass. He may tell you to get out of the car. Great. I've invoked my Fifth Amendment right here. Simply flip the trifold open to the very next page. He wants me to get out of the car. No problem. No problem, officer. I'll step out. Before I step out, though, I want to let you know that I have a right to film cops. I will be filming you. Turner versus Driver, an auditor who got the case law presented here. Our right to film falls squarely within the First Amendment purpose to protect a free and robust discussion of public affairs, hold government officials accountable, and check abuse of power. Violating the First Amendment on camera removes the cop's qualified immunity. I understand I have to step out, officer. So I'm going to step out. Everything's on camera here. I understand that it's the policy of the Supreme Court that I have to exit the vehicle for officer safety. I'm going to exit the vehicle. My hands are going to remain up. My trifold's in my left hand. My phone is here. Do not take the phone out of my hands. I understand you're going to Terry frisk me. That's fine. I'm going to put my hands up and comply with the Terry frisk. Don't take the phone out of my hand or I'll sue you. So before you step out of that car, this is the part that's not in here. Before you step out of that car, you inform him. It's just a simple page flip. It's just a simple, you've invoked your Fifth Amendment right. Now this side says learn the law. All I'm going to do is open up the trifold real easy, real slow, just like that. Then I'm going to inform him it's my right to film you and that I understand I do have to exit the vehicle, so I will be exiting the vehicle. It's a step-by-step tutorial. Everything goes up in your visor. I give you a rubber band in the envelope with your trifold. Whether you bought it from me or not, the rubber band comes with it. Okay? But inform him that it's your right to film him. You understand you have to get out of the vehicle and that you're going to get out. All right? Okay.
He's violated my Fifth Amendment right. I'm showing him on video. It's on the literature. Your Honor, this is for my federal civil rights lawsuit. If I was you, pig,
there's everything you need. Go on. Go do your job.
I would just go write your ticket. That's what I would do if I was you, pig. That's what I would. If I was you, piggy, I would go and write your ticket. This is how it works. This is how you use your trifold completely. This is the way you do it. There's no other way that I've taught. This is how you do it. Phone goes here. Elbow goes here. Trifold, identification, everything is up in the visor here. I'm ready to go. These bootlicking troll channels, they sat down and they did the math one time and they said, well, Chille, if he sells 20 trifolds in a day, that's some pretty good money. Why would he live so poor? Why wouldn't he spend some money? Why wouldn't he go and do some things? Well, you jack off nobody. It's because I have a mission. There's a purpose here. My purpose is to get a trifold in every single car in America. The mission is to get the Fifth Amendment cop cards in everybody's wallet. The yellow and blue cards only come out when there's a pig in front of you. That's when the yellow and blue cards come out. You don't pull the yellow and blue cards out until there's a pig in front of you. You memorize the cards so you know it backwards and forward. But this is how you do it. This is how you do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the new redesigned Fifth Amendment cop card. Now, the driver card is in blue and the non-driver card is in yellow. Now, they're easily color-coded. So you know driving is blue, non-driving is yellow. You have to have a pair of Fifth Amendment cop cards in your wallet at all times. If you carry your credit cards in your phone, it's the exact same size as your Visa, as your driver's license. And these cards, they're made out of the exact same material as a hotel key, your Visa card, your driver's license. They don't destroy. It won't melt in your wallet. You need to have a Fifth Amendment driver and non-driver cop card in your wallet. These are the best gift you'll ever give anybody. Thanks. My name is ChilleDeCastro, and I am DeleteLawZ. Okay, so now we're going to get into a history lesson on Richard Nixon. I'm going to be covering the poster. This is available on my website. If you can't afford it, I'll give it to you for free just by contacting me. I'll email you the PDF. I also have laminated versions in stock right now. I've got 9 in stock right now. If you get the one that's not laminated, it's $99. I'll still give you the laminated one. And then I'm going to send you a text and say, send me the money for shipping, because they literally cost me $65 to print up the laminated posters. So, but I'm going to give a full history lesson now on we're living in Richard Nixon's America. How many people? Oh, and so this is the original trifold. This is the original trifold. You have to answer questions, Fifth Amendment, 1789. So this is the original trifold. The Fifth Amendment was first proposed in 1789. And so the reason why I'm showing you this is because this is 3 years old. And I print the trifold on indestructible paper so that the colors don't run. The colors don't leak. You can kind of crumple this up and put it back together. And it's the exact same paper that I use on the new and improved Fifth Amendment trifold. So once you have one of these trifolds, the indestructible trifold, you can destroy it. If you work hard, you could tear it up, I imagine. But it's polypropylene paper, so it doesn't tear real easily. You actually have to work on doing it. So now I just want to point that out to you guys. Remember, if you can't afford a trifold, just email me. I'll at least email you the PDF so you can print it out. Likely I'll send it to you for free. Depends on how many trifolds I'm able to sell, because the people who do buy it, you subsidize others who I send it to you for free. And there's at least a dozen people here who I've sent the trifold to absolutely for free, because it is a mission to get it done. It is a mission. Oh, you still use the old one? That's funny, Peter Parker. I still use the old one. That's funny, Peter. Well, let me email you the PDF so that you can have a new one and you want to print that out. But the old one is 3 years old. I gave so many of these away for free. I overdrafted my account by almost $9,000 because I just kept giving them away when I was in Ironton, Ohio. So, all right, cool. Now let's get into the history lesson of today. And this is going to be, this is Richard Nixon's America. So let me see what you guys can see. Let me get this off the screen right here. Okay, so the most important part of what you're looking at here, and I'm going to go into great detail on this, is the Fourth Amendment is the right of the people. Do you guys see that? Let me open this bad chicken like this. Now let me see what you guys can see. Cool. Will this work? Let me try it like this for you guys. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll just do it like this. I will just do it just like this. I don't know if you're going to see it very well, but I'm going to do my best to teach you guys the best that I can with what I got here. Okay, let's take a look. Let's move this chair over here to the side. Okay, So now you can't see it on here, so I will just represent the original here. Okay. So see on the bottom here where it says the Fourth Amendment is the right of the people right here to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation of the victim, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. This is the most important part, because a lot of people, what they don't understand is that Terry versus Ohio, you can't see it down here, it's going to eliminate your Fourth Amendment. And you can see that clearly because Terry versus Ohio is right here. Here's Terry versus Ohio. Well, the prison industry, it's all the way back here, starting back here. So the very beginning of our country, Pennsylvania started the first solitary confinement prison. You can't see it because my name is right there. And then as you come down the line, the first bump in the prison industry, this is prohibition, where we go from 40,000 people in prison to over 200,000 people in prison. Then as we continue to go down the line here, you're going to see the prison industry line. Each one of these little tiny lines is 100,000 people living in a dungeon. So now as we continue right here, what happens right here? Let's take a look at the timeline. What happens right here? There's Terry versus Ohio. Take a look at the mountain that is created in the prison industry right after Terry versus Ohio is a policy created by the unelected Supreme Court. Along the top of the poster here is every Supreme Court we've had, all the way back from the John Jay Court to the John Roberts Court down here. Sorry, you can't see it behind the icon. So now let's take a look at what happened here. Through from 1954 until 1964, all these people in here, most of them died. Most of these people died, and they died in vain, because after they died, this man right here, Richard Nixon in 1971 declared war on drugs. And he's going to pass that with his attorney general right here using the 1970 Controlled Substance Act. 2 years after Terry versus Ohio was passed in 1968, the Controlled Substance Act is passed by Richard Nixon's administration. Now, Richard Nixon's administration, what they do specifically when they write the Controlled Substance Act is they criminalize Mary Jane, because his goal, just so you know, was to lock up hippies and blacks, anybody who was against the war and black people. He was deeply, deeply racist. You'll be able to see that on my community tab right now. I put a couple screenshots of some quotes that he said. He hated Jews, he hated blacks, he hated Indians, he hated anybody who wasn't pure German white. He was a Nazi all the way. So now we have Terry versus Ohio is going to pass right here. And you have the 1970 Controlled Substance Act. So what does Terry plus the 1970 Controlled Substance Act end up doing? Well, the cops can walk up to you and say that I'm suspicious of you. Then using the legislation passed in the 1970 Controlled Substance Act, they can walk up to you and grab you. And oh, by the way, could they plant chemicals in your pocket? You bet your butt they could. Did they do that? Oh, yeah, they sure did. Yes, they did indeed. So now I'll keep going down here. Sorry about that. Let me fix this. Okay, now let me show you this right here. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can read this. Okay, so included in the 1968 Terry versus Ohio, in 1968 was the Omnibus Crime Bill and the Gun Control Act, the 1968 Gun Control Act. And what this did, so just remember, we were in World War II right here from 1939 to 1945. Can everybody see that right there? Okay, so what happened from 1939 to 1945? Let me explain it 100% clearly so that you guys understand. When young men went to war in 1939, what happened was they were 18, 19, 20 years old. So now let's do the math. Let's say that you got out of the war. You left the war in 1945. And let's say that you went in 1939. And when you got out of the war, so you were 25 years old. Now let's jump ahead 20 years to 1965. Now you are 45 years old. However, you were in a war against Nazis. It is extraordinarily real. Can you guys see my cursor right here? Give me a thumbs up if you can see the cursor right here. Okay, so Yes, I absolutely include cop cards with every single trifold order. You get it for free. So now what happens in here? There's a very important things that happens in 1961. Remember, the Controlled Substance Act isn't going to be passed until 1970. Hopefully you guys can see exactly what I'm pointing out here. The Controlled Substance Act is passed 1970, but right here, 1961, the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. What happens right here? Well, let me show you exactly what happens. These guys right here, Harry Anslinger, Andrew Mellon, William Randolph Hearst, Lamont DuPont, John D. Rockefeller. These gentlemen right here had colluded together to make sure that Mary Jane would remain illegal. Then, with the help of J. Edgar Hoover, this piece of shit right here, who would take over the FBI in 1924, these guys right here, they demonize Mary Jane in the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. And what exactly do they do? How exactly do they do that? The way they do that is Harry Anslinger sends off what's called a Sears card. If you guys are unfamiliar with the Sears card, there used to be a Sears card. It's just like an American Express today. So Harry Anslinger, this pig right here, what he did, I'm sorry, let me go back to it. Harry Anslinger, this guy right here, who's put in head of what's called the FNA, the Federal Narcotics Agency, in 1930. And as you know, Prohibition had given us a roadmap. Take a look at the prison industry that spiked so dramatically from 1920 until 1933 after Prohibition ended. And who filled up the prisons here? Italians, blacks, and cops. They locked up Italian cops were the biggest alcohol swindlers there were. So Harry Anslinger right here, the reason why he has the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs is for this man right here, Lamont DuPont and William Randolph Hearst. So Lamont DuPont and William Randolph Hearst, they have a vested interest in making sure that the base of the Mary Jane plant called hemp. Hemp is this plant that grows the Mary Jane, but you can do an entire forest of Mary Jane in one season. You'll create tons and tons of what? Paper. So why would you care about paper? Well, if you're William Randolph Hearst, you're deeply involved in the newspaper industry. This man right here, the man on the far right of this quad of people here, this guy right here, he was in charge of the newspaper industry. And this guy right here, Lamont DuPont, he was in charge of the pharmaceutical and plastic industry. So those two guys to the left and to the right of Harry Anslinger, and this is Andrew Mellon, who was Secretary of Treasury in 1937, who would pass the Mary Jane Tax Act. The Mary Jane Tax Act made it so that you had to get a stamp to have Mary Jane. You had to have a stamp. And so these guys right here, he wants to make sure that the hemp industry cannot compete with his newspaper. He just bought 100,000 tons of wood from another country, and it was being brought over through the water. And this guy right here was doing plastic and pharmaceuticals. And as you guys know, if you're unfamiliar, if you are epileptic or you have seizures or if you have some forms of cancer, the hemp, the CBD material that comes out of hemp is nature's cure. And it's not that hard to process and make it so that you can get a little drip of CBD. And so for that reason, they want to eradicate Mary Jane. So what exactly happens? What's the play-by-play here? So now if we go back over here and we go to the Single Convention on Narcotic of Chemicals right here. So what happens at the Single Convention on Narcotic of Chemicals? The WHO. Who's the WHO? You guys know who that is, the World Health Organization. Who is the WHO? Well, Harry Anslinger, who was in World War II and also in World War I, the WHO is going to begin in this 1914 to 1918 era where we're in World War I. Well, what does Harry Anslinger do? Harry Anslinger is stationed over at The Hague. He's stationed at The Hague overseas. And who is his first batch of friends? It's this new group of people that would soon form the League of Nations in 1925, and they would soon form what's called the WHO. The League of Nations in 1925 is now called what? NATO. So now, as we dig deep into understanding history, Harry Anslinger had a vested interest because he grew up working in the railroad system. Born in 1892, he serves in World War I when he's just a young pup, 18, 19, 20 years old. So when he serves in World War I, he becomes... Now, he doesn't go to actual war. He's in Brussels. He's at The Hague, and he's making friends with the World Health Organization, and soon to be in 1924, 1925, the League of Nations, which is NATO. Then Harry Anslinger again will serve in World War II. He works as a double agent. He works as a spy against Germany. Harry Anslinger had a lot of skills being a pig. He was a pig for his entire life. So explain to me this then. How, when Harry Anslinger died, how did he end up with a multi-million-dollar estate? Well, think about that for a second. If you look up Harry Anslinger, it will say that he worked in TV and film. Yeah, but the truth is he started off being a cop on the railroad system when he was 14 years old. Then by the time he was 18, 19, he headed to World War I. Then by the time it got to be 1939, he headed to World War II. So he was deeply involved with the government, the federal government. And Harry Anslinger, when he comes back from World War I, then he's going to immediately go into the prosecutor's office, and he ends up working in the Bahamas, where he's chasing down chemical dealers on boats who are transporting what? Hemp, Mary Jane. So how do we even get here? How do we get to this point where, why are we chasing down hemp? Well, let me show you. So right here we got to go back a little bit even further. Every time I give a history lesson, you always have to go back. So right around here in 1863, this man right here, J.D. Rockefeller. You guys have heard of the Rockefeller Foundation. You've heard of Rockefeller. Okay. Well, Rockefeller starts this company called Standard Oil. Standard Oil is started in 1863. Well, what happens in 1865? The 13th Amendment. Who does J.D. Rockefeller have working in his new Standard Oil company? Slaves. He takes up slavery. He keeps slavery going for 2 decades, even after it's abolished. So 1863, that happens. Well, then as you go down here in the year, then in 1911 is the breakup of Standard Oil. That's what happens in 1911. So it gets broken up to 7 different families. Well, remember what I said earlier that, oops, I'm so sorry. You guys couldn't see what I was doing. Let me do that again. I am so sorry. I have my big fat head on the screen. You guys couldn't see it. Okay, so right here, I apologize. So when the 13th Amendment is passed, right here in 1865, right here, gosh bless it, right there. There's the 13th Amendment, and it right here, if I drop down right here, you'll see that the 13th Amendment is passed in 1865. Sorry, I'm dealing with technical difficulties here just from this map. I hate this thing. I hate Acrobat for this. I really don't like it. So Standard Oil is established in 1863, right here 2 years before slavery is abolished in 1865. President Jackson is in office when Standard Oil is established. Now, 1863, when Standard Oil is established, do I have it on here? I don't have the actual establishment of the 1863 Standard Oil, which is started by this guy right here, J.D. Rockefeller. You guys have all heard of the Rockefeller Foundation, how they've permeated through the banking industry. Absolute facts. Absolute facts. So now the breakup of Standard Oil is going to happen in 1911. Now, in 1911, when Standard Oil is broken up, the war on drugs today is perpetuated by the breakup of Standard Oil. And why would I say that? Why would I make such a bold assertion? Well, the reason is absolutely clear. Because when Standard Oil is broken up 3 years later, so when Standard Oil is broken up into 7 different families, you now have 7 different families with 7 different minds and 7 different understanding that hemp really could take on the fossil fuel industry, because you can grow an entire forest of hemp in one season and then chop it down, use it for energy. And countries around the world are using hemp for energy. They're burning in their tents in India. And so they don't want hemp to keep going. They don't want that at all. So now the breakup of Standard Oil happens in 1911. So what happens in 1914? The Harrison Act. What does the Harrison Act actually do? What does it actually do? The Harrison Act makes it so that you have to get a prescription from a doctor to be able to get your chemical. Now, back then it was Loudon. Maybe you guys have heard of Loudon before. If you've ever seen a film called Tombstone, you'll see that Wyatt Earp's wife, according to the film, I'm not sure how factual it is, but there was one thing that was factual, that you could mix together a certain array of opium and heroin, just so the video doesn't get demonetized, so people won't see it. So what happens here is this chemical called Loudon is now taking people over, where opium and heroin is making it so that people are really actually becoming chemically addicted. And this is one of the beginning times, besides alcoholism, we're really starting to understand that this chemical Loudon can really ruin entire families. This is where you're going to get the beginning of the drug addicts. Okay, so now let's keep going here. So now, as what happens is when Standard Oil is broken up, the Harrison Act is put in place by the 7 families who own Standard Oil now, because they tried to serve him. They tried to serve this guy so many times. This guy down here, J.D. Rockefeller, they tried to serve him a warrant to go to court so many times, but they could never get him. This guy right here. Sorry if the arrow's a little bit off. I'm not sure exactly why it's doing that, but it is a little off. So right here. So if you may see it over here, just drop it down a little bit. If I ever, okay, come down, I'll just make sure I stay on this bad chicken. So now right here with the breakup of Standard Oil, what you're going to get is this Harrison Act. And now you have to get your prescription to get your chemicals, specifically Loudon. And what other chemical is so specific that you have to get a prescription for it? It's going to be Mary Jane. And why is it Mary Jane? Because you need a prescription for Mary Jane, because then we can slow down the production of hemp. But that's not going to be good enough, because people are still getting and using hemp and using Mary Jane in lieu of Loudon, in lieu of hard painkillers, in lieu of all the things that the powers that be want. So just remember, and I haven't created this graphic yet, but it's a layer cake. The legislature and the president on the layer cake, if we go right here, the top of the layer cake are the rich elitists. The rich elitists, just like you're going to vote for Trump or Biden, I'm voting for Robert Kennedy Jr. Hopefully you join me in voting for a third party. Right here, the elitists, they decide Trump or Biden. They decide who your House of Representatives is. They decide who your Supreme Court justices are. So the top layer of the layer cake are rich elitists. That's the simple fact. So then the next level down is your presidents and Supreme Court. And then your next level down is your House of Representatives and your senators. And then the next level down are your police and your prisons and things like that. And then the next level down is us, we, the people. So now let me go back into detail here. So as we get back into this here, now the Harrison Act is going to create the war on drugs, because they can't stop the chemicals. They can't stop people from getting this thing called Mary Jane. And so now Harry Anslinger is put in charge of the Federal Narcotics Agency, the FNA, in 1930. And he's already seen that you're going to be able to lock up all these people. You'll be able to lock up all these people. This is Harry Anslinger. He's going to be in charge of the FNA, 1930, and he's already seen the experiment work perfectly. All you have to do is charge people with chemicals and charge people with alcohol, and look at the prison system. Take a look at the prison system. What is 5 times? Quintuples, cinqueples, cinco in Espanol, pero in Estados Unidos, I'm not sure what 5 times means. Okay, so right there. Now, Harry Anslinger witnesses this. He sees it. So he's in cahoots with William Randolph Hearst, and this is Andrew Mellon. Andrew Mellon is who? Let me dig into my map right here. Andrew Mellon is going to be, he's going to have a daughter or a son. I can't remember exactly if it was a niece, maybe. I'm not really quite sure. This map is a little bit off. So Andrew Mellon is the Secretary of State for who? He's the Secretary of Treasury for this man, right? Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is going to put 5 different people. Let me zoom in a little tighter so you guys can see it. Now, take a look at the years that Franklin Delano Roosevelt is president. Remember, this is a PDF that you can get on my website, DeleteLawZ.com. It's only $20, but if you can't afford it, I will send it to you 100% for free. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt is going to be president from 1933 to 1945. That's not going to come to an end until the 22nd Amendment. After Franklin Delano Roosevelt is president for so many years, he's president for 12 years. You see that? And so he dies. He literally dies in office. And then the vice president takes over, Harry S. Truman. So, Yeah, I'm pretty sure he dies in office. And so then Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he has appointed who to the Secretary of Treasury? He's appointed this man right here. This man right here. Now, Andrew Mellon is a dyed-in-the-wool racist. I mean, he hates black people. He hates them. He hates blacks. You can look up the Mellon Foundation today. They're still performing racial division. Remember, each one of these lines right here with the prison industry, these tiny little thin white lines, represents 100,000 people living in the dungeon. Well, this man right here, Andrew Mellon, he has a niece. And the guy down here, Harry Anslinger, he marries that niece, this guy right here. So that's how you know when Harry Anslinger dies, he dies with a multi-million-dollar estate. Multi-million. And remember, J.D. Rockefeller down here, he may have broke up Standard Oil and sold it to 7 different families, but he's the chairman of the board. He's the chairman of the board of all of these different 7 families. And so what are they interested in? Making sure that hemp cannot take on the oil industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and the newspaper industry. So what do? They criminalize it, and they use the Harrison Act to say, but the Harrison Act doesn't have any teeth. It doesn't have any way that you can actually say, hey, we're going to criminalize this. So now with the 1937 Mary Jane Tax Act right here, 1937 Mary Jane Tax Act, here's what happens. Now they've made it so that you have to have a stamp, a tax stamp, to be able to get your Mary Jane, including what? Hemp. And what does hemp do? Hemp competes with the pharmaceutical industry, the fossil fuel industry, the plastic industry, and the newspaper industry. Hemp is one of the most amazing products there is on earth. And so now how do we know that nothing can happen? Well, because remember, in the executive branch here, where FDR is, when he appoints Andrew Mellon to Secretary of Treasury, he simply passes the Marijuana Tax Act by going to the congressional floor. And who goes to the congressional floor specifically? Who goes to the floor of Congress to help pass the Marijuana Tax Act? Well, you know who it is. It's Harry J. Anslinger, this guy right here, Harry Anslinger, the bald guy in the middle. He goes on to the congressional floor and he says that if you allow Mary Jane, it makes darkies think they're as good as whites. If you give it to a 14-year-old girl, she'll go off with 2 black guys and get syphilis. And this was, by the way, this was the resounding fear throughout the country, is that the white women would sleep with black guys or sleep with Mexicans. The actual term marijuana comes from where they tried to make it so that it would sound like it was Mexican, mahawana, because then it was coming up from Mexico, and you couldn't have those dirty brown Mexicans coming up and smoking Mary Jane with the white women and then getting them pregnant with brown babies. I mean, this has been a recurring theme throughout history, that people are deathly afraid that they're going to mix the races. Let me pop off just real quick and show you just one thing, just super, super fast, just so you guys can see it. Just so you guys can see it, so that we're all on the same page here. View channel, community. Cool. So now here's the community tab right here. Let me share this with you guys so you can see what I posted today in the community tab in anticipation of this specific live stream. So right here, video details. There it is. Okay, so I posted this today, and this was a couple screenshots that I got from Reddit, US presidents. Let me see what you guys can see. Let me make this bad chicken big. So these are a couple of quotes from Richard Nixon, and it's going to say here, there are times when an abortion is necessary. I know that, when you have a black and a white. They put the Jewish interest above American interest, and it's about GD time that the Jew in America realizes that he's an American first and a Jew second. Then I put some commentary here. Nixon was a dyed-in-the-wool racist, not the kind of racist who just dropped the N-bomb or murmured his racism within friends. No. Nixon created the fake war on drugs to lock up hippies and blacks. Oops, there's no S there. He hated all races, including the Jews. He really hated Jews. Now, this is from Ehrlichman. This is from, what was his name? Ehrlichman, I can't remember his first name, Steve Ehrlichman, maybe John Ehrlichman, the intellectualist. In 2004, in an interview with Harper Bazaar magazine, the Watergate co-conspirator admitted that the Nixon administration invented the war on drugs in order to imprison Black Americans and hippies, 2 groups he felt threatened by. And here's the actual quote from Harper Bazaar's magazine. "You want to know what it was really about?" He asked with bluntness of a man who, after public disgrace and a stretch in federal prison, he was involved in Watergate. He went to prison and had little left to protect. The Nixon campaign in 1968, the same year Terry versus Ohio was passed, and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies: the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be black or to be a hippie against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Do you see? So when you guys say, this is Joe Biden's America, this is Richard Nixon's America, please, don't be afraid to reference right here. And now let me go back. Let's go back to this right here. Let's take a look. Now I'm gonna go back into detail here in a moment. I'm a great big dunce cap. Here it is. Okay. So take a look. Richard Nixon is going to pass the war on drugs in 1971. He's going to turn the 9 canons of government. There are canons within the government, federal government. He's going to take the 9 canons of government and create the war on drugs. And right at the same time that Terry versus Ohio was passed in 1968, 1970. Now, if you drop down and you take a look at the prison industry in 1968, 1970, it's still down here at a paltry 400,000 people, mostly blacks and Italians and some cops. And then as we move forward here, what happens? It just begins to quickly expedite straight up. And why is that? Well, we have to go back into a little bit more detail to really understand what happened from here. So I'm going to go back into the PDF here. Sorry about that. Okay, cool. Let me see what you guys see. Okay, we're back on the large screen. Thank you for your time. So now right here, we have the automobile exclusionary rule created in 1925, which is based on what? Prohibition, which is from 1920 till 1933. The automobile exclusionary rule is created from what? The 1925 case of Carroll versus United States. Now, even though the 21st Amendment, do I have it on here? I should have it on here. 13th, 14th, 15th. I guess I don't have it on here. The 21st Amendment is going to pass in 1933, and it's going to decriminalize alcohol, make it legal. And oh, by the way, then only specific people who are the elites can build alcohol refineries and process alcohol. Everybody else will be arrested. So, but this creates the Automobile Exclusionary Act so they can search your car. But we're not done yet. So then they're trying to get rid of hemp. They're trying their best to get rid of hemp. So the 1952 Boggs Act right here. This is what we have. The 1914 Harrison Act, where you have to get a prescription for your Mary Jane. But truly the teeth, the real teeth, the Boggs Act is the teeth. This is just the precursor for criminalizing Mary Jane at levels that are unbelievable. The 1952 Boggs Act makes it so that you will go to prison for mandatory 10 years if you're found with one tiny little needler, Joint. You will, if you have a tiny needler, you will go to prison for 10 years. Well, you know what though? We've seen time and time and time again that criminalizing anything from Colombians coming over, from the CIA, from the FBI, who are the biggest drug dealers in our country. The CIA is the #1 drug dealer in the world. There's no bigger drug dealer than the CIA. Thumbs up right there. Thanks a lot for that. The CIA, the FBI, those are the 2 biggest drug cartels in the world. There's no bigger drug cartel than the CIA and the FBI. That's a fact. From around the world, from opium to Mary Jane to cocaine, you name it, the CIA and the FBI are the biggest drug dealers. It's not even remotely close. So then right here, the 52 Boggs Act, that's actually going to criminalize Mary Jane to the point where you'll go to prison for 10 years. Okay, now it doesn't work. You're locking up tons of people, but the hemp industry is still thriving. People are really, half of America smokes Mary Jane, and they still do. So now right here in the Single Convention on Narcotics Drugs, what happens here with the help of the WHO? And who's the WHO? Those are those nice people that Harry Anslinger met in World War I, 40 years earlier, and now they're all best friends. The League of Nations, starting in 1925, is going to partner with the WHO to make sure that they say that Mary Jane should be completely so at the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs, the WHO, Harry Anslinger, and a bunch of leaders from around the world take the podium and they say Mary Jane should be abolished from the earth within 25 years. Because if your kid smokes Mary Jane or your husband or wife smokes Mary Jane, they will turn into an axe murderer. Maybe you guys remember the show Reefer Madness. So I showed you those little memes of Richard Nixon. So what happens next? What could you imagine happens next? Well, Richard Nixon is working with who? Right up here, the Supreme Court, right up here. Right up here. So this man right here, Earl Warren, who's going to pass the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education. Earl Warren, who's the Supreme Court chief tyrannist from 1953 till 1969. Earl Warren, after he gets wrapped up in the police hating him. And why would the police hate Earl Warren? Well, because the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education desegregated America. But it wasn't really desegregated until the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Right here, the 1964 Civil Rights Act. You can see it right there. The desegregation in America doesn't happen until 1964. In 1963, John Terry is milling around downtown Cleveland, and this man right here, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name, but this guy right here, he's the cop who is going to arrest him for being downtown. What year? 1963. The 1964 Civil Rights Act has not passed yet. So now when this black guy, take a look at his face, he's actually mentally ill. If you take a good look at John Terry, you've seen people who are mentally ill. I'm not making fun of anybody who's mentally ill, but you can see in his face, he has mental illness. After he's arrested and charged in Terry versus Ohio, Martin McFadden, this is the pig who arrested him. He started being a pig in 1924, enforcing what? Black codes, where blacks weren't allowed to be downtown. Martin McFadden would then arrest John Terry in 1963, and Terry versus Ohio wouldn't happen until 1968. But let's get to Dick Nixon and show you exactly what happened. So now right here at the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs in 1961, they're going to say that Mary Jane should be eradicated from the earth within 25 years. That's the recommendation by the WHO, to eradicate Mary Jane. So they still are having a hard time with it. They need to really criminalize it. The Boggs Act is one thing, but they need a comprehensive way to criminalize hemp. Remember, it's not Mary Jane they're after hemp. So then the 1970 Controlled Substance Act written almost entirely by Richard Nixon's Attorney General, John whatever his name was, John something. He writes the 1970 Controlled Act with a couple of judges in a room. And if you go to ChatGPT, they'll lie to you. But I'm telling you, I've done the research. I can't remember his last name, but John writes the 1970 Controlled Substance Act. And in 1971, Dick Nixon declares war on drugs. Well, let's take a look. Let's get into some great detail here. So now Dick Nixon down here, and there's Ehrlichman right there who would admit what happened. Take a look at the prison industry. See these little lines? Each one represents 100,000 people. Well, we're still under, this is 400,000. We're under 400,000 people when Dick Nixon passes the war on drugs. Well, then what happens exponentially? Then it just begins to fly. And then when you get to Ronald Reagan, this piece of shit right here that everybody says Reagan is so good. Let me tell you something. In my book, I have Ronald Reagan as one of the worst presidents in U.S. history. I have a video that shows him saying, we need to abolish the warrant requirement to raid your home in America. And why? It's really going to make a difference to the boys on the front line, is what Reagan says. So now this is what happens, how the prison industry actually gets there. That's how we actually get there. So, but what happens specifically? We have the president, Nixon, we have the president, Reagan, we have the Supreme Court personnel, Earl Warren, working in conjunction to make sure that drugs are illegal. You have the World Health Organization saying how that marijuana will turn your kid into an axe murderer. And so why though? Why? How come Earl Warren, after passing Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, why in the world would he work hand in hand with the cops and with the president and everybody else to criminalize Mary Jane? because of the 1961 case of Mapp versus Ohio. So Mapp versus Ohio is when Dolores Mapp, when they raid her home without a warrant. And when they raid her home without a warrant, what they do is they then create a standard, or a Warren does, that says you have to have a warrant. It's called fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. Fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine is an extension of the 1914 case, Weeks versus United States. I suppose it's not on this one. I apologize. So now in the 1961 case of Mapp versus Ohio, what happens when the cops have to get a warrant, or anything they find in your home, in your car, on your person, if they don't have a warrant to search you or search your home, then the cops, all of that evidence that's found is called fruit of the poisonous tree. Well, who hates that the most? The cops. The cops hate that the most. So what do? They start picketing up and down from 1961 until 1963. See this big one down here, Kerr versus California? When Earl Warren passes Mapp versus Ohio in 61, after he desegregated America in 1954, or tried to desegregate America, but the cops wouldn't let him. Now, just 2 years later in Kerr versus California, where the cops go into Diana Kerr's apartment by getting the key. And why are they doing it? Because she is a Mary Jane dealer. And remember, in 1961, the Single Convention on Narcotic Chemicals partnered with the WHO to say that if you have Mary Jane, it'll turn your kid into an axe murderer. It'll turn you into a comatose psycho. So we go Mapp versus Ohio, where you have to have a warrant requirement to go to someone's house. Kerr versus California, what does that do specifically? It makes it so all you have to do is just knock, 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 tap, tap, tap on the door, and then boom, break the house down. That's what it does. And why would Earl Warren, who passed Mapp versus Ohio in 1961, why would he pass Kerr versus California? Why would he do that? He would do that because his ass was on the line and about to be impeached. We've never had a president. We've never had a Supreme Court justice impeached. Let me tell you something. If I ever get to the highest office in the land, I will make sure that the people can impeach Supreme Court justices, so that they should be elected to 10-year terms, and every single year they should have to go under impeachment inquiry. And why specifically is that? How come that is? Why should they have to go through? Because the 2001 case of Atwater versus City of Lago Vista. What does the 2001 case of Atwater versus City of Lago Vista say? That if you violate the law in front of any peace officer, no matter how minor the infraction is, that you can be arrested and go to jail, and it is not a violation of your Fourth Amendment. And what is that based on? It's based on the reasonableness standard. To be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Well, who decides what reasonableness is? The cops do. The cops decide what's reasonable and unreasonable. Who else decides? Judges. Who else decides? Prosecutors. Do you decide if it's reasonable? No, you don't. You have the right to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Do you see that? Unreasonable searches and seizures. Well, so now what do they say? In 2001, and this is the reason why if I was president, I would change this. In 2001, 5-4 decision for conservatives who screw us every time and give our rights to cops. They say that if you even violate a tiny infraction of the law in front of a piggy, that you can go to jail and it's not unreasonable. Okay, so now as we go down right here, now let's get more into Dick Nixon and what exactly he did. So Dick Nixon's going to do Watergate. He's going to get kicked out of office. Gerald Ford takes over. And then immediately, what does Gerald Ford do? He pardons Dick Nixon and says he pardons him for his crimes. Ehrlichman goes to prison, but not Dick Nixon. Do you understand that? Can you help me understand? I mean, so what does that mean? I told you. The elitists are in charge, the very top elitists. Then you have presidents and Supreme Court personnel. The elitists will tell the judges, tell the president, they'll tell Ford, you're going to pardon him is what you're going to do. And if you don't, the whole thing of the Secret Service, let me tell you what the Secret Service is. The Secret Service are the assassinators. John F. K. was assassinated. Who do you think killed him? Everybody says the CIA. Who do you think the CIA is? The Secret Service. When Obama got into office, the Secret Service, the CIA, went to him and said, hey, you did a good job. Way to get yourself elected. Now, we're going to go to a bunch of these wars right now. And if you don't agree, you're going to die. You're going to get to fly around on a plane, give all these, George Bush drove us into a ditch. And then you're going to keep on mowing over Muslims and say how the Muslims are the evil of the world. When the truth is that from what I understand, my birthday is 9/11. Yeah, we all know building number 7. We all know the truth. Well, who did that? Who did that? Okay, that's for you to decide. I'm not going to go too much further because I want to make sure I can keep my channel intact here. Okay, so when Richard Nixon declares war on drugs in 1971, here's the war on drugs declared in 1971, what happens? Now, every president after him, I gave you the example, George Bush drove us into a ditch. And so this man here who was a criminal, Ehrlichman would go to prison for Nixon's crimes. And then what happens? Well, then Ford and Carter and Reagan, they all continue to perpetuate the fake bullshit war on drugs. Ronald Reagan, we have so many people being arrested. What happens? Terry versus Ohio allows stop and frisk. It puts officer safety over your rights. So if officer safety is in question, there was no cameras back then. If officer safety goes over your rights, well, then of course they're going to be able to walk up and pat you down. And all it takes is something this big right there. Slip that in your pocket. That's how big it has to be. You're going to prison for 10 years. So if you're a black leader or a brown leader or a white leader, all they have to put in your pocket is something this big. And how are they able to stick something in your pocket that's just like this? How are they able to do that? How are they able to do it? How are they able to do it? Terry versus Ohio, stop and frisk. Officer safety over your rights. Officer safety over your rights. Now, if you're in your car and they can't plant chemicals on you, Pennsylvania versus Mims, an extension of Terry versus Ohio, says that you have to get out of the car in the name of officer safety. Really, it's in the name of the war on drugs, the Substance Control Act, and Richard Nixon's way to lock up hippies and blacks. Cops are planting drugs on people by the thousands. Well, then can they search your car? Sure they can. The 1976 case of South Dakota versus Opperman allows the police to search your car to do what? To inventory it. Well, what are they going to inventory? They're going to inventory that they found a little tiny needler in your car. You're going to prison for 10 years. That's what happens. That's what happens. So when people say we're living in Obama's America or Trump's America or Biden's America, let me refresh your memory. Let me take you back into the history of time here. Take a look at this. When does this start? How does this become this gigantic mountain of people living in a dungeon? How does that happen? Richard Nixon. Has this mountain been taken off? No. No. Are chemicals still illegal? Yes, they are. They are. So remember how they do this. You're going to have JFK assassinated in March, and then you're going to have April of 68. And then you're going to have Robert Kennedy assassinated June 6th of 1968. And then Terry versus Ohio is going to be passed on June 10th of 1968. So they killed the best black leader. They killed the best white leader. And then after that, well, then of course we need to do stop and frisk. Can't you see that MLK Jr. is killed in April, and then that Robert Kennedy is killed in June? 4 days later, after Robert Kennedy is assassinated in that kitchen by who? The Secret Service, the FBI. Then what happens? They pass Terry versus Ohio, June 10th, 1968. Stop and frisk, coupled with the 1970 Controlled Substance Act and the 1971 War on Chemicals, then all they have to do is just plant this little tiny needler in your pocket. You're now taken out of the equation. Remember, if you guys find out that I've been arrested for chemicals or human trafficking or I punched a cop, it's a lie. I don't do any chemicals, none whatsoever. I don't smoke any weed. I don't take any pills. I don't do any chemicals. I don't drink alcohol. None. How do they ruin people in our country? By planting chemicals on them. If I end up with child PORN on my computer, I was set up. That's ridiculous. But just remember, this is how they do it. They want to make sure that you can't have good leadership. All these things I'm teaching you today, I'll bet you that half of you guys never knew any of these things. It's okay. You're not supposed to. They don't want you to know. This is William Archibald Dunnan's education from Columbia University. So now as we continue down this timeline, what happens? What do they do? Well, if they pass the 1970 Controlled Substance Act here, well, then how are they going to make sure they can get more controlled substances? The 1979 Plainview Doctrine from the FBI. If they can see it, they can arrest you for it. but it keeps on going down the line. So after Dick Nixon passes the war on chemicals, and then Reagan creates the for-profit prison system, then we get these couple guys who come in and they talk with a Southern accent like this. And I'm sorry about that. You guys couldn't see what I was looking at. So after Dick Nixon passes the war on drugs in 71, Ford pardons him, then Carter comes in. And then after that, you can see everything right here. Everything is right here. All the presidents right here. Nixon is here, then Gerald Ford, then Jimmy Carter, then Ronald Reagan, then George H. Bush, William J. Clinton. So now Billy Clinton, Billy fat ass Clinton. This guy right here. You're going to have Nixon, and then you're going to have Ford, and then you're going to have Carter. And see, there's kind of a lull here. It only gains by 100,000 or so here when you have Ford and Carter in. But then when you get piece of shit Reagan, boy, it takes off like a rocket. He doubles the prison industry from 500,000 to 1 million because he creates the for-profit prison system. And what do you guys hear me say all the time? Who is the for-profit prison system? It's Civic Core and it's Geo Group. How come it is we can't get rid of those torture cuffs? Torture cuffs are $1 billion industry. Well, who did that? Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan to me was an evil demon who I pray is burning in hell because I can't forgive him. Maybe God could, but I could not. Ronald Reagan was such a horrible person. It's unbelievable. It's astounding what a piece of shit Ronald Reagan was. So as we continue now, so it's pretty bad here. He's going to double up the prison industry. Ford does nothing. Carter does nothing. Then Reagan comes in, and then we get to this fat cat Billy Clinton. And take a look at that. Look at that. It really takes off like a rocket. Why is that? Joe Biden writes the 1994 crime bill with the COPS program, Community-Oriented Policing Services. Community-Oriented Policing Services. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, the 1994 crime bill comes out when? At the exact same time, just 2 months after the 1994 Mullen Commission on Policing. So what Joe Biden does is he creates the COPS program to go around the findings that they found in the Mullen Commission. Now it's called Community-Oriented Policing Services. And then you have Operation Relentless Pursuit, which is a part of the 1994 crime bill. Operation Relentless Pursuit is when you can combine both federal and state agencies. That would include the CIA, the FBI, ICE, your local police, your local state police, your local city police, your local borough police, municipality police for Operation, what was it called again? Operation Relentless Pursuit. And what exactly does that mean? That means that if they decide that you're bad, Dorner in California, they can combine all of the agencies, federal, state, local, CIA, FBI, ICE, and all the other alphabet letters. They can put them together for Operation Relentless Pursuit against who? Against you. Remember the war on terrorism? Now all these laws are terrorism. Everything's based on terrorism. You're a terrorist. In 2016, I was charged with terroristic threats. I have it on video. The video saved me. I've recorded the entire interaction between the guy I was talking to. When they said that he threatened to kill me, I had a video that said, I did not threaten to kill you. The video went up and I was eventually exonerated. That's why I have recording devices on me. That's why there's always cameras on me at all times. There's very few times that my dash cam, the internal cameras in my car, the cameras in my office, the cameras in my house, I always have cameras going. I have listening devices that I wear constantly. And why is that? Because I know throughout the history of time, they have lied, cheated, and steal leaders and killed and assassinated leaders. And if you haven't noticed, I came here to lead. I came here to lead. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. That's a fact. So now what happens here? What does Joe Biden do that's the worst thing? What's the worst thing that Joe Biden did? Well, down here, you have William Bratton and you have Chief Michael Moore, who no-knock raided my house. This guy right here. No-knock raided my home in 2002. This piece of shit right here. And so then William Bratton, what does he pass? He passes what? Working with Joe Biden, he passes what? The broken window theory. Well, what does the broken window theory actually say? That any petty crime in any neighborhood needs to be arrested and prosecuted. So then but they can't arrest you for misdemeanors. They can't arrest you for tiny infractions of the law. So how is the broken window policy going to become effective when William Bratton wants to create the broken window policy? Well, he's just going to work with the Supreme Court in the 2001 case of Atwater versus City of Lago Vista to really enhance the broken window philosophy that you can be arrested for any petty crime. And what happens to the prison industry? Well, there it is right there. There it is. The broken window philosophy plus 2001 case of Atwater versus City of Lago Vista, plus the Controlled Substance Act of 1970, plus Richard Nixon's war on drugs in 1971, plus Terry versus Ohio, where they can stop and frisk you, plus they can get you out of the car. They can inventory your car in the 1976 case of South Dakota versus Opperman. They can pull you out of the car in Pennsylvania versus Mims. Illinois versus Gates gets rid of the two-prong effect that was established in the 1969 case of Spinelli Aguilar, where they have to voir dire the confidential informant and they have to voir dire the person who's being investigated. Well, that's going to be upended in the 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates. So now who's the confidential informant? We have a confidential informant. We just can't tell you who it is. That's all. We just can't tell you who it is. Why is that? The 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates. What's Illinois versus Gates predicated on? What's the stare decisis, the jurisprudence of Illinois versus Gates? Terry versus Ohio. What's the jurisprudence of Pennsylvania versus Mims, where they can get you out of the car in the name of officer safety? Terry versus Ohio. Do you understand? Do you understand why I'm such a psychopath about Terry versus Ohio? All of these cases will be abolished. They can't force me out of the car in the name of officer safety when there's no Terry to predicate Pennsylvania versus Mims. You can't order me out of the car with the 1997 case of Maryland versus Wilson. The 1997 case of Maryland versus Wilson. Oh, these are the two worst ones. Do I have 97 Maryland versus Wilson on here? I don't think that I do. But the 2009 case of Arizona versus Johnson is the same as the 1997 case of Maryland versus Wilson. Now, what other cases are there? The 1985 case of Tennessee versus Garner says that the cops cannot shoot you in the back of the head when you're running away. Oh, they can if it's the name of officer safety. Where's that come from? Terry versus Ohio, 1995. Police cannot no-knock raid your apartment. Unless, of course, it's in the name of officer safety. What's the extension of Wilson versus Arkansas? Terry versus Ohio. But they need help from the Supreme Court still. They really need Atwater versus City of Lago Vista and the 2013 case of Florida versus Harris that says if a dog barks at you, that is probable cause. Well, what does probable cause specifically mean? No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation. Probable cause is what you can be arrested for. That's the 2001 case of Atwater versus City of Lago Vista. If there's probable cause, you can be arrested. Well, what's the probable cause standard? No warrant shall issue but upon probable cause. And then over time, it's became probable cause to believe. If the cops have probable cause to believe that you committed the robbery, probable cause to believe that you smacked your wife, probable cause to believe that you did the shoplifting, probable cause to believe, not probable cause to believe. And where does probable cause to believe begin? It begins in the 1949 case of Brinegar versus the United States. Right here. They had probable cause to believe that they had taken the betting tickets and put them in the garage. So Brinegar versus United States is very specific. If a man of reasonable caution has probable cause to believe that a crime is afoot within your residence, they can just walk right in your door. No warrant is necessary. Probable cause to believe is created in the 1949 case of Brinegar versus United States. But the Fourth Amendment is so clear. It says no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause. It says it right there. To be secure in their person, houses, places, and effects, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation of the victim. That's what's missing right here. Because Terry versus Ohio, what that does is it turns the standard of no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, it then turns that upside down to say that the cop swears he was suspicious of you, and he's now the victim. And that's why we have the prison system like we have today. And this is why I'm running for governor, because most people don't know these things. They didn't spend years. When they arrested me and kicked my door down in 2002, I was so disgusted with how in the world could the cops kick my door down when I have no legitimate criminal record at all whatsoever. How in the world I had to know, how could the cops beat my door down, kick my door down with the SWAT team, put lasers in my eyes and arrest me when there's no probable cause? There's no one saying I dealt them any chemicals. There's no P's and O's. There's no cursor and precursor of chemicals in my home. There's nobody saying that I'm a chemical dealer except for their confidential informant. Well, I know who the confidential informant is. I'm going to reveal it in my book. But here's the biggest problem that I faced was, how could you arrest me, kick my door down? Well, it was very specific how they could do it. They could do it with the 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates. Illinois versus Gates was turned on its head because of Terry versus Ohio. The 1969 case of Spinelli versus Aguilar had a very specific metric, a policy created by the unelected Supreme Court. And that metric was this, that if one painter, and this is the example you'll get in law books, if one painter on one side of the road looks over at the other painter on the other side of the road and says, "Hey, coppers, that guy over there is a chemical dealer." Well, Spinelli versus Aguilar, right there from 1969, says that you have to voir dire or investigate both the confidential informant, and you can take a look at what the confidential informant was saying. Well, in 1983, Illinois versus Gates, they argued that, well, we do have Terry versus Ohio. So that means if a confidential informant tells me that this person's a chemical dealer, that does give me reasonable articulable suspicion. Why do I need to investigate the confidential informant? And why do I need to reveal who that person is? We are the police. We need to be able to have our confidential informants and keep them private. So what's the policy now? The police can arrest you based on a confidential informant tip. They don't have to tell you who the confidential informant is, and they can raid your home. Why did they raid my home? At that time, I was training heavily in MMA. And so I was going to this place in LA called Legends Gym 5 days a week. And so they actually showed me photographs and pictures. I had a file of this stuff that I threw away 10 years ago because I was carrying around this file that the cops had given me. And I was so disgusted with how I'd been treated that I just threw it all and incinerated it. I wish I had not done that. However, I did. And so with using the 1983 case of Illinois versus Gates, they showed me pictures of them following me to MMA practice. And then they showed me pictures of me living on Sunset Plaza with my girlfriend where I didn't go to work because I was an actor. As an actor, you book a commercial, you make $10,000 or $20,000, and then you float on that money before the Screen Actors Guild screwed over the actors because everything was going to the internet. But I had done a national Ski-Doo, a national Pepsi commercial, all these national commercials that paid me tens of thousands of dollars a month. So I could sit at home with my girlfriend. Now, we were very popular. People were coming and going from my apartment. So the police followed me to MMA practice, saw people coming and going from my apartment. And then with their confidential informant, they put those things together and said, he must be a drug dealer. Do you see how this system is? You see what Terry versus Ohio does to people? The cops can say, well, people are coming going from his house. And then what did they use? They used me going to MMA practice, constantly going to MMA practice, to then invoke the 1995 case of Wilson versus Arkansas. And the Wilson versus Arkansas case says specifically what? That you cannot no-knock raid someone's apartment. It says you can't do it unless in the name of officer safety. Hundreds of thousands of people every year in America are raided, and 30%, 40% of them are no-knock raids. What happened to me? What happened to me? So now when I tell you, did anybody ever find that episode of 1,000 Ways to Die? That was a pretty good episode. I only got paid $1,000 to do that role. But it was a pretty fun role. I enjoyed it. I was in fantastic shape. I mean, just unbelievable shape back then. It was just unbelievable shape that I was in at that time. So when people say, and I just want to always go back to this, that we are living in Obama's America or Trump's America or Biden's America, no. We are living in Richard Nixon's America and Earl Warren's America, who Earl Warren desegregated America, but he did it specifically so we could spy on blacks. So if you get into the nitty gritty of understanding history, as I have done, as you can tell, Earl Warren was a Freemason. He was president of the Freemason Society, governor of California. Earl Warren cared deeply about being able to spy on people. He worked hand in hand with a guy named J. Edgar Hoover, who was head of the FBI, constantly spying on people. And so when we segregated America, let me take this off the screen so people can see it. So when the reason why Earl Warren desegregated America in 1954 with Brown versus Board of Education, the reason why he did that was so that he could spy on black people, because when America was desegregated, remember, as we go back here, when we go to, it would have been 1908, Barrera College versus Kentucky. So I put Barrera EDU, but it was Barrera College versus Kentucky. In 1908, a Democrat from Kentucky, Democrats back then were for the KKK. What they did was, in Barrera College versus Kentucky, they said that you couldn't have little black kids and little white kids in the same schools because of the 1896 holding of Plessy versus Ferguson that created legal racial segregation. So in Barrera College versus Kentucky, they segregated schools, made sure all restaurants, bars, even hospitals were segregated. Now, what that did is it created two systems of education. It created an educational system for blacks, and it created an educational system for everybody else. Well, blacks, Mexicans, Asians, Latinos, all were segregated away from whites. Well, from 1908 till 1954, Earl Warren was running for office, president of the Freemason Society. 5 years he was president of the Freemason Society. How long was he really president? Probably the whole time. But when you really get into understanding history, so 1908 happens, and then Korematsu versus United States. People talk about how FDR was the greatest president from 1933 to 1945. But Korematsu versus United States, he appointed 7 Supreme Court justices. FDR did. And in Korematsu versus United States, that's where they locked up 100,000 Japanese people. FDR created concentration camps in America, locking up 100,000 Japanese people. And why specifically did he do that? Because this guy over here named Earl Warren said, you better lock up those Japanese. And so then when it went to the Supreme Court, when Korematsu sued for being illegally locked up in a dungeon, in a concentration camp in the United States of America, of course, the Supreme Court, and let me scroll up here right now so you guys can see. In 1944, the Stone Court, Earl Warren had appointed 7 of the 9 Supreme Court personnel right here. The first of which in 1937 was who? Who was the first person who Earl Warren appointed to the Supreme Court? Don't be silly. It was Hugo Black, lifetime member of the KKK, sending a signal to white America that he would do the bidding of white supremacy. So when you really get into understanding the history of our country, this is why we lack such leadership, because the things that I've taught you here today make it so that when I walk out the door, just got to make sure the side's clear. Just got to make sure, because I don't think I'm in danger yet. I think I'm in danger when I start to actually campaign and run for governor, and when the powers that be see that I could actually win, because of the history lesson I'm teaching you here today. So do me a favor, make sure that you understand that we're living in Richard Nixon and Earl Warren's America. This is nobody else's America besides a white supremacist, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a white supremacist, Earl Warren, and a white supremacist, Richard Nixon. That's the America we're living in today. And they locked up 100,000 Japanese people. In the Korematsu case that's on your screen right here, as you can see right there, 1944, right on FDR's face, Korematsu did not get justice. The Supreme Court personnel, none other than lifetime member of the KKK, along with the 8 other injustices unappointed, said that Korematsu had no case because we had to keep order here in the United States of America, and the Japanese posed a significant threat to national security. So just remember this. Don't let this go. Don't forget it. No matter what occurs, no matter what happens to anybody or anything, you keep the education and the fire alive of everything that I've taught you here today. Everything that I've taught you here today. Because if we don't, then we're doomed to repeat history again and again and again. Okay, do I have any questions? Let me see if I can answer any questions for anybody here today. Were there any questions about so we're streaming on a few different things right now. You guys, everybody hit the like button. And today is a 2-for-1 deal. It is Saturday. So if you guys get my trifold today, if you go to DeleteLawZ.com and you get my trifold, I'm going to give you a second trifold for free. And I'm also going to give you a pair of Fifth Amendment cop cards in your envelope for free. It's not on the website. Everybody here who follows and keeps up with DeleteLawZ and the brand that we've contributed, that we've right on, just ordered your trifold. So just V Boyer's in the room. I love you, V. You are such a friend, and I appreciate you so much. This V Boyer is a patriot. You have no idea the depths this woman has gone with me. You have no idea. We have a completely platonic friendship relationship, and we are very good friends. This woman is a saint. She is a patriot. She is a freedom fighter. She's the real deal, Holyfield. And I got nothing but love, respect, and admiration for V Boyer. Thank you for being you. So remember, today is that day that you will get a pair of cop cards with your trifold absolutely for free. Today is that day. It's Saturday, where if you buy one, I'm going to give you a second one for free. I want you to give the second one away to somebody. I'm going to give you 2 rubber bands, 2 trifolds in your envelope completely for free. It's not going to be on the website. Just order a trifold, put a 1 in the chat if you have done this with me and you got in your envelope doubled up, or you got an extra. And then, by the way, once you put in, no, Chevy is not here again. I think he's sick. He did send me $100 yesterday for the fundraiser for Henry. So he did send that. And thank you guys who have donated. We're still about $1,300 short between the $6,000 for Press with Rancor and for the $1,300 and for the $1,100 for Henry. Henry and I went over. I think I said we were 650. I don't know. I have to do the math because a few more donations came in last night. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'll do my best. I will cover the difference for Henry and I will cover the difference for Press with Rancor. But I feel like these freedom fighters should be crowdfunded. I feel like people here should donate $5, $10, $15, $25, $30. If someone wants to drop my pay apps and my Venmo, my Zelle, pay Cash App and make sure you put on that donation. It's going to go to Press with Rancor or it's going to go to Henry, and any excess money will go directly to Mind Vaccine. You didn't get your poster. Put your order number in the chat and I'll look at it right this second. I'm going to get into another video here right now. I want to show you guys another video. Put your order number in there and I will hit you up. I'll take a look at it. If you ordered a poster, it went into your spam folder, in case you wanted to know. If you ordered a poster, it went into your spam folder. I don't think you ordered one that I shipped to you. I'm pretty sure that you ordered a poster that went into your spam folder. So check your spam folder, my friend. Check it out. Considering that I will give it to you for free, if you don't have any money, I definitely want you to get it if you paid. I definitely want you to get it if you paid. Anybody who wants my poster that can't afford it, I'll send you the PDF for free. You take it down to Kinko's or FedEx. I mean, it's only $20. If you can afford the $20, please support what I'm doing, because the $20 when you buy the PDF from me, almost all of it is going to go to other people. It just simply will. I have to raise a ton of money to pay off Press with Rancor's attorney for $60,000. And Press with Rancor is an absolute G. He is a G. Yeah. So let's talk about that, Steve Albuquerque. Okay, so what I'm doing here, Steve, let me explain this to you. I saw the other day one of these egotistical YouTubers was saying how they had done this and they had done that and they got arrested all these times. So what I'm doing here, Steve, just so you know, is I'm building a constituency of people who will vote for me. I'm building a constituency of people who, when I go to Alabama, I can get 1,000 people to join me in Alabama to go sit in on a police department and shut them down for 24 to 48 hours. So I'm not just sitting here talking. I'm teaching you the problems in our country so that I can get you to join Team DLZ, so that when we do take action, there's thousands of us that can go to that police department non-violently, peacefully, with all of our cameras rolling, and show these jackboot thug pigs attack people who just sat down in the parking lot and refused to leave. You're more than welcome to arrest us, but we're not going to leave, and we're going to catch on camera what you jackboot thug pigs do to us. That's why people are so outraged now. That's why people are so outraged, because we're seeing what these pigs' policies, procedures, and protocols do to us. That's what we're seeing. And the biggest problem that we're facing in America today are the policies, procedures, and protocols of the torture cuffs. That's what we're dealing with today. So that's what I'm doing here, Steve. More than welcome. Please join on the memberships, because that puts a couple more bucks towards us. Steve, go to my website, DeleteLawZ.com. Pick yourself up a pair of cop cards. They're $10. I'll give them to you for free. But if you can afford to buy them, then go ahead and do it. Go ahead, Steve. Go over there and get yourself a pair of cop cards. They're $10. If you need to get a trifold, Steve, they're $25. I ship it to you with a rubber band. Steve, if you can't afford my trifold, if you can't afford my Fifth Amendment cop cards, I'll give them to you for free. That's what I'm doing here, bud. What are you doing here? Just checking. Just checking. I have not seen. Oh, is that right? I don't really. So just so you know, the only place that I sell anything is on my store, DeleteLawZ.com. If you ever see another store, it's not mine. It is not my store. I only sell my products on DeleteLawZ.com. All of my Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal are very specific. They're my name, ChilleDeCastro. Venmo has a hyphen in it. My zelle is so high, 900. Let me just go right here. Venmo at ChilleDeCastro. PayPal. Whoops. Sorry about that. I got some things on my computer here. At ChilleDeCastro. I don't have Greg in the room today. Cash App is ChilleDeCastro. And make sure you put donation on there so that I have, and then Zelle is so high, 90069 at gmail.com. So there those are. That's how you can donate. And please make sure that you put donate on the subject line, if you would, please. I got to pay off a $60,000 bill. I think that we have to pay off a $60,000 bill. So those are my Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. If you want to donate $5, $10, $15, $25, that's absolutely amazing. Let me show you guys where we are, just so you guys can see the numbers specifically. And here's where we are on PayPal. We are almost... There's Chevy. Just so you guys know, Chevy donated $100. So Chevy's around. We have $4,797 in PayPal. Almost $2,000 of that was money that was already there. And then on Cash App, we have $297 on Cash App. I'm not cashing any of these out until we reach the $7,200 mark to pay off Hendry and Press with Ranker's attorney. And then right here on Venmo, they're trying to sell me something. On Venmo, we have $1,197. So you can do the math on that. That's $6,000. We got to reach to $7,200. So we're just a little bit shy. We're just a little shy. But I won't be making any money from this, because next month is another $6,000 payment to Press with Ranker's attorney. It is what it is. I wish there was excess. I wish there was excess. I really do. That'd be great. But even if there was, I sat down with one of my best friends last night. We had dinner, and he said, "Oh, V Boyer, I'm sure that you did, honey. I'm sure that you did. V Boyer, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to tell our story. I am not going to cry. It'll make me cry, and I'm not going to do it. I'll just tell you this: V Boyer is someone who has shown that she is supportive of what we do, and that she does not stop. She is the real deal Holyfield, and I'm just so grateful that she exists in the world."
No, y'all do not. I'll be sitting right here watching. Nobody asking for his ID. I'm not arguing. I'm arguing with you either. I'm not giving you no. I'm going to jail. Yes. If I don't provide my ID, yes, ma'am. Let's do it. I'm not giving you my ID.
Let me check that, Steve.
This is ridiculous. Hey, turn off, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
I need to put my shoes on.
I didn't ask.
Wait a minute, don't you put your hands on me like that.
Hold on. Whoa, hold on, wait. Hold on. Ma, calm down, please. Everybody, please calm down, please. Ma, everybody, calm down, please. Ma, please.
Why do you need my ID?
I've already explained to you.
Why do you need my ID?
Ma, just give him your ID, Ma, please.
Why do you need my ID?
Ma, please calm Mom, no, it's okay. Mom, it's okay. It's okay. Ma, it's okay. Ma, it's okay. It's okay.
Holy shit.
It's okay, Ma. It's okay. It's okay, Ma. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I got an announcement. 1 second.
I'm recording. I'm recording. I'm recording. I'm recording. I'm recording. I'm recording. I'm recording.
Why you want to fuck up a female, dude? You need Jesus.
Mom. It's okay, Ma. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
This ain't nothing but the devil.
It's okay.
It's okay.
This ain't nothing but the devil. Can I put my shoes on, please? Right here.
Yeah.
This ain't nothing
Hey,
but the
dude, I
devil.
wasn't attacking you, by the way. You know that, right?
You put your hands on my son. You put your hands on my son.
Ma, it's okay, Ma. Honestly, I
You put
understand
your
that.
hands
I
on my
wasn't
son.
attacking.
My son ain't do nothing.
I mean, that's a natural reaction. You know what I mean?
They don't
Hey,
understand
dude.
that.
Hey, dude, before you take her away, why are you taking her away?
She's right now. She's under arrest for failure to identify.
So is this actually in Alabama? Is this actually in Alabama state law?
That is not the law. That's against the law.
Is this actually in Alabama state law?
No, it's not.
When I'm out with you, as long as I have a legal reason to be out with you, if I ask you to identify yourself, you are then.
So can you inform me? Can you inform me how this process goes? Because if you're arresting her right now over failure,
They use the law all day long.
a failure of ID,
I
then
got y'all. Got you.
We're gonna go to this.
Got you. Got you.
so I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious about how this
Everybody else
is going right now.
loud, and then when I start causing a bunch of
I'm gonna
noise,
fix these for you, okay?
please, it hurts.
Is there one in particular? So look, I'm gonna have to take one off to get to the other, okay?
Wow.
So how is this process going to go? Because you guys just can't keep her in there cooped up for failure of ID. that makes
It's illegal.
no sense. Why logically that makes no sense.
Not no law. I'm at home.
Wow. So failure to ID. I have an announcement here in a moment, but I'm gonna come back to this. Drophead 74. I have a very exciting news for you. So on your non-driver card right here, the guy's filming, but he doesn't have the literature on him. Number 4 says, cop says he demands ID. While filming state, I plead the 5th Amendment. I identify as a good citizen. No ID is required. With reasonable articulable suspicion, Hibble versus Nevada says citizens must state how they ID, not give ID without probable cause. So that is it. He should have the 5th Amendment cop card on him. So we have reached the goal. Thank you guys so much. We have reached the goal. So here it is right here. Rudolph sent in 50, Drophead 74 below sent in 500, and then Toots Vape Shop sent in $1,000. So we have reached the goal. And then Felicia put in $700 for Tabitha Smith. And that money, she said to me, transfer over to Press with Rancor and to Hendry. So we have reached the goal for this month. I want to say thank you to all of you who donated. Jessica Kerstad, John L, Let's Go TVO, Amy, Shock Professor, Drophead 74, Felicia. We have reached the $6,000 goal for Press with Rancor, and we have reached the $1,100 goal for Hendry. I know $2,000 were already in there. I don't care. I will put every dime that I possibly make into fighting for freedom. When I did this initially, I did not know if I would be able to cover that $6,000, but watching Press with Rancor get railroaded absolutely leveled me, and he's being arrested and charged with a felony. Thank you guys for not leaving me hanging. I can't believe it, to be honest with you. Chat GPT is a statist and will lie to you. We did it. We actually raised the money for these people. Someone just said something about Chat GPT, but I'm overwhelmed and I can't find it. So we did it. We did it. We raised this month's money, and from big shout out to Toots Vape Shop, and to Drophead 74, to V Boyer, to Felicia, to Chuck, to Chevy, to all the individual donors, Ms. Constitutional Rights, Jessica Kerstad, we did it. I was honestly so afraid that I wouldn't be able to do it. The little seed of doubt crawls up into your mind, and every day it beats you in the head that you're not going to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish. What you're trying to lead, you will not be able to lead it. There's always this little Ryut, but when you gave that $2, it gave me hope. Just like when Drophead's at $1,500. That's not all of it. Drophead is at $1,500. Felicia's in the thousands. Chevy's in the thousands. And then V Boyer is in the thousands. So Amy, who bought a t-shirt the other day, all you guys who paid for a trifold, all you guys who bought my products. I got to calm down here. Anyway, I didn't know if I'd be able to do it. And I got to do it again next month because we don't stop. We don't stop. Remember, hoodies are in. Get a hoodie. We make about $20-25 on every hoodie. Ryut Audits, though, man, you gave me hope with that $2, and hope is a very, very strange animal. If you give people hope, and that's what we did for Press with Rancor. Drophead 74 has only been around for a month or two, and thank you, dude. And Amy Kelly, who came through, and Danelle Brown, and all you guys who came through. You bought a hoodie, though, man, and that makes Team DLZ $25. That's good money, because the hoodie, by the time I'm done with it, is $32. That's the cost of the hoodie by the time I get it. Buy the hoodie, get it silk screened on. I sell it for $65, and then you just pay for shipping after that. So I make anywhere between $20 and $30, depending on if it's a triple XL, if it's a medium or a small. There's different prices for the different hoodies. So I apologize, but I'm not going to hide it. I'll be like Michael Jordan, where I'll get memed with tears coming down my face. I don't care. I'm an emotional, fiery guy, and I don't care. Thank you. As humbly as I can say it, thank you so much for your support. We're not going to stop until it's done. All right, let's go back here a little bit. So what happens here? Let's break this down and look at the constitutionality of it.
Nobody asking for his ID.
I'm not arguing.
I'm arguing either. I'm not giving you no. I'm going to jail.
Yes.
If I provide my ID,
yes, ma'am.
I'm not giving you my ID.
Okay, right there. Instead of saying I'll go to jail for not providing my ID, don't be willing to go to jail without first showing him that you're on camera and that you have a Fourth Amendment right not to give identification. She's not driving a car. Remember, the yellow and blue cards only come out when there's a pig in front of you. You make sure that you have these in your wallet. Yellow and blue card comes out when there's a pig in front of you. On your yellow card, number 4, they ask for identification. Cop demands ID, says he has RAS. While filming, state, I plead the Fifth Amendment. I identify as good citizen. Right there, it says Hibble versus Nevada. Citizen must state how they ID, not give ID without probable cause. do this first before you say, okay, fine, I'll go to jail. Before you get put in those torture cuffs, educate the cop on camera and tell him, I'm informing you of the law as Hibble versus Nevada from the year 2004, in case you didn't know. Even with reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime without probable cause that I've committed a crime, I do not have to give you my ID. If you torture cuff me or you arrest me when I'm showing you the law, that goes around your qualified immunity. I literally feel like I'm going to vomit. So I'm trying to hold that back. DeBomb is in here. What is going on? Mr. Bones is in here. You know, all y'all are in here. Do not just cut to the chase and go to jail. Do not just cut to the chase and go to jail. If you want to order the cop cards, they're $10. You go to DeleteLawZ.com. Just so you know, though, if you get a trifold, I give you the cop cards with your order. If you want to buy them additionally, great. Do it. Do it. Because Press with Rankers bill, after this $6,000, we still have... That'll be $12,000, $18,000, and then we have $60,000. So there'll be $42,000 left. That's all. $42,000 left. That's it. That's all there is to it. Big shout out to all y'all who helped me. There were so many of you guys we accomplished this. And I really didn't think that we'd get it done till close to the 20th when the bill was due. I really didn't. But I remember Felicia from Australia has put in thousands of dollars for people. Drophead, let me just, you know what? I showed you what to do in this video. Let me read some names here. Let me say thank you to some people. Let me just go down the list and thank every single person. Chevy, thank you. God bless you. We don't know where you are, Chevy. Put a 1 in the chat if you miss Chevy. Put Chevy's name in the chat if you would, please. V. Boyer, who completely and utterly kept me alive. Jeffrey Toman, Sheila Bethel, Jessica Kirstad, Michael Dolan for Craig's legal fees she put in there. Gary Bryant, who's put a few $100s in. Chevy again. Shane Kelly, Randy B, Gary again. Naomi W, twice in a row. Naomi sent me in 25 cents and said, I'm on disability. Here's what I can give. And when I saw it, I was Matthew Dixon, Kieran Tibbetts, Toby Gardner, Don McLean, Jessica Kirstad again, Kieran Dips, Sammy Serrano, Greg Bolin, moderator, Charles Phillip has put in $1,000, maybe a little more. Gary Bryant again. Sam Serino again, Mark Weber, Steve Randall, Charles Phillips again, Michael Dolan again, Ian Drennan twice, Adam Gessman, Robert Novak, Gloria Adkins, a moderator here, Lori Heineman, who never got the right size hoodie. She only got the medium. Lori, I'll have a small in on Tuesday. So let's you and I talk, okay? Stephen Flack, Trey Bradford, Jennifer Newman, Michelle. Let's not forget the people on Venmo and on Zelle. I literally am shaking because I didn't know if we could do it. We did. So, and then as far as transactions, Dan Hanlon, who said he was between checks and he came through. Chris Boudreau twice. Ed Kreider, Stephen Gitz, Writes On. Andreas, Josh A, John S. Sorry. Let me hold it. Let me pull myself together here. Thank you. Good time. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let me just pull myself together here. Let me compose myself. I can face the biggest adversity in the world and fight back with teeth. As soon as I feel the benevolence and love of people who give, people tell me, put their arm around me, tell me they love me. That's what gets me. You want to fight me? I'm not going to cry. You give to somebody who you don't know and you help somebody you don't know. That gets me. Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys. So Edie Rains, Sarah Moody, Mark, L. Ron, Robert Gonzalez, Patrick O'Connor, Ed Kreider again, Jim Overturf, Warren Lancaster, Victor Rice, Amber Miking, Matthew Strauss, Chris Boudreau for the third time, Scott Wadsworth, Kyle Profino, Dan Hanlon again, Andrew Santinga, Cope Doggy Dog, in Cope Doggy Dog, James Forbes, Jen K. Have Jen K reach out to me. I want to talk to her. So, and then for Cash App, there's more people who have donated on Cash App. V. Boyer just sent in another 100. Craig Shirley, David G, Rashawn Gillespie, Pistol P. Rex, J6, Yahoo, Jeffrey Vach, Yahoo again, Joey Campbell, Watt Kelly, Robert Russ, Brandy Sweeney a couple times and bought a t-shirt, Jolie Lofthouse, Joe Pickrell, John L, who John L has donated $5, $10, $20, $5, $10, $20, $5, $10, $20. John L, you know who you are. Marcus, I think he's in the room. Marcus Tanner, Eric Trulio, Daniel in Texas, Brandy Swaney again. There's the t-shirt. Thank you, Brandy. I appreciate it. Mark sent in 100 and said, I wish I could do more. Pistol P. Rex again, Jack McCullough, Michael Kennard, Jonathan Nelson, Nicole Shearer, J6 again, David G again, Joel Campbell, Carmen Webb, Leon Wade, April Bass constantly. April Bass is 30, 40, 50, 100, 30, 40, 50, 100. April Bass is constant. Lester Gibson, David G again, Eric Battles, Luke Dessen, John L, like I said, again, another 25, another 50, Yahoo, Bruce Reeder, April Bass, John L, you see, again and again and again, Sheldon Dukes, Richard Rumi. I mean, look, to get to this total, it was a lot of you. Let me go into Zelle. I'm going to say everybody's name who donated today. If I substitute your name, I'm only trying to protect you. So you know who you are. So now let me go into my Zelle and read off some names there. You guys understand we raised $7,500. You guys get that, right? Felicia in Australia. So obviously Drophead 74, then Steve, and then Rodolfo, and then from Tudor's Vape Shop, thank you so much. There's more. Rudolph again, Rodolfo G again, Steve Conkler again, Steve again, Jessica Kirsted, Steve again, Dawn Rister, David Tessa, Stephen Van Paris, Joseph R, Paris Gonzalez, Joseph R. And these are some from the last fundraiser that we did for Henry that I didn't read off their names previously. Kenneth Shreve, Ramel Fernandez, Alex Cruz, Gregory Burns, Devin Canal, Gwen Wood, James Crawford, Charis Henry, Robert Dermer, Robert Cavalt, Nicholas Phillip, Stephen Conkler again, another 100, Jason Denton, Paul Trickett. Paul Trickett's always in the room, always here. Keith Martin, Edgar Herrera, Claudette is always in the room. Mark Matson, John F, David Hall, Rodolfo again, Paul Gia something, I can't say it, Elazar, Monty Wilson, Susan P, Alan Hubbs, Alan Hubbs, who is here in the room constantly. Cope Doggy Dog. Let me tell you what Cope does. Cope goes onto my store and he buys 5 or 10 digital products that go to his email every couple weeks. Cope does it every couple weeks. Let me check my other account. I have another Zelle account that people may have donated to. Let me just read off some names here. I have a hard out in like 5 minutes, so I have to go. But let me read this one as well. Let me just go here real quick. I just want to read the names here of people who donated so that this could get done. And just so you know, I think we went a little over the goal, and every dime that went over will just go to next month's Press with Ranker, $6,000. So here I have on Zelle, let me just read these names. Brian, nope, that's not that was money I paid out. James Phillip, Jessica Kirsted again. Jessica Kirsted 3 times in a row. She's in the room right now. Thank you so much. Just keep looking here. So this one doesn't have very many because the Zelle up on the screen is a little bit different. So most of those Zelles came from that one account, but Jessica came to this account 3 times. So okay, so here it is. Nope, that goes to somebody else. That goes to somebody else. You guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If I didn't say your name, please let me know so that I can give you guys credit for what you've done. Daryl, I think so anyway, listen, I didn't expect to hit this goal today, so this was a little bit overwhelming for me. I apologize for getting emotional. Hanshaw has been fired. Spuljarek is still in prison. He gets out. Bradley Spuljarek, who was sentenced to a year in prison. I talked to Beth Rist yesterday, and she told me that Bradley Spuljarek is only doing 6 months, and then he goes to a halfway house for 6 months. Put a 1 in the chat if you think he will not do 6 months in the halfway house. He'll get out of the halfway house in a month or 2, get an ankle monitor, and then, of course, they won't apply the rules to Bradley Spuljarek because he's a pig. He's a pig. I have a hard out. I absolutely have to go. I have set up a meeting with somebody across town here in Vegas, so I've got to go. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And if you all just participated through support and just being here, Drophead 74, dude, you are a mensch, man. You are a mensch. V Boyer, all you big donors. You know, if you guys don't know how fundraising works, I'll give you just a little bit of insight. So 80% of your money comes from 20% of the people. 20% of the money comes from 80% of the people. And that statistic has played true here. And I am so super grateful. King Braveheart is a donor. Dan Hanlon, bro, you are a Quan. You know, you are my Quan. Dan Hanlon is not a rich guy. He takes the money that he has. You're going to mess me up, Dan Hanlon. And he just, he donates the money, the spare money he has. He spends his time here instead of going out and spending his money on entertainment. And then he donates the money. He sent me some messages here and explained to me that he's not rich, but he takes the money that he has and he donates to people. Instead of going to the movies and to the Pizza Hut, to these things, Dan donates the money extra that he has. So, okay. This was super hard for me accepting this, and I do accept it, and I thank you. I will need your money when I run for governor. I will not take any special interest money. So, all right, I got to get the flock out of here. Mingo Wingo, Jessica Kirstad, you are Kinetic Customs and Racing, constantly. April Rain, constantly. You guys are just, I can't say thank you enough. We did it. And so just so you know, tune in tomorrow and I'm going to send the money to the lawyer. No, it'll be on Monday because I have to use a wire transfer to send the $6,000 to Mikowski. And I'll do the $1,100 to Hendry on Monday as well. So tune in on Monday. Chuck P, you are my Quan, bro. You guys, James Forbes, like you guys are just, it's just, I couldn't have done it without you. We did it. There was no I in this team. I could not come up with that amount of money. Would be damn near impossible without breaking myself to the bottom. I came up with that $6,000 for the down payment because then I was on the hook. You know what I'm saying? You throw the anchor down and that's where you are. Now you have to make sure that the boat floats. And so that's why I threw down that $6,000 to start off with. And my partner put down the other 6,000. We did it. I got to get the flock out of here. Thanks for coming. I'll see you on the next one. Later, Gators.